Flame on! How's everybody doing tonight? I'm here with my special guest, Tevia Smolka. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. And thank
And
you for having me on. Yep.
no problem. And welcome to our first stream of the new year. Well,
Yep.
first
Happy
name,
New Year.
Happy New Year. And Tevia, you mind changing your screen because I can see the reflection.
Um, uh, sorry, actually, but
No. It's okay. It's okay. It's just something I noticed. But
yeah,
this is gonna
it's
be a
just
yeah.
being scam.
It's all good. It's gonna be a little bit of a quick one. Just the Tomorrowverse from Man of Tomorrow, the Long Halloween duology. What was it? Justice Society
Supergirl, Winter Tomorrow, Green Lantern, Beyond My Power, and
and, and War World, but that was just set
whoa,
up.
that's garbage. Yeah.
That's not really. I'm not gonna say it's garbage. It's not much of a movie. It's just the point of it is just set up for Crisis.
Yeah.
That's really all. That's most of what that movie boils down to. Hold that thought.
Okay.
Sorry about that. And let's start with the beginning with Man of Tomorrow. If I had to rank these, I would give Man of Tomorrow a solid 7 out of 10. It's not much in a vacuum, but but compared to where Apocalypse War ended, it's a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Because time on my, did you doing did
Spoilers because we have a lot of casuals here, especially on X.
yeah,
That
okay.
plot point doesn't plays a later role in a later movie. Let's not spoil everything. Let's just focus on each movie as is, and then build them up at the closer we get to Crisis.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably the safest way to go about it. But yeah, Man of Tomorrow is basically it's not an exact origin story, but an early year Superman, similar to what we got with Superman 2025,
Yep.
and is mostly the story of Clark contemplating whether to commit to being a hero and being Superman or not. It's a pretty basic story with both Lobo and Martian Manhunter playing supporting roles. Parasite being the big bad, but with Lex Luthor playing a bit of a foil. I'm not going to say he's an outright secondary villain, but he is at least a foil in Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, in a later movie, in a later appearance, yes, he's a villain in all but name. But at least in this one, they didn't immediately jump to the low hanging fruit. Like, okay, let's just make Lex Luthor the villain again, like business mogul, tycoon, whatever.
I
But
type in.
oh, go ahead, Tevi. Go ahead.
Yeah, you're right with that. Actually, not too bad is the side villain, but the main villain actually the main villain is pretty Lobo and Parasite. Because Lobo the reason why this happened because he doing Parasite even existed.
But yeah, Lobo. Yeah, I guess Lobo would be considered a secondary villain, but he mostly plays a comedic role than anything.
Yep. Kind of one said, "What are you talking about?" We're talking about the Tomorrow as a whole.
And that's just everything that's pretty much been released in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, this really isn't much of a verse. It's just a series of transition projects while the while the DC acquisition was going through. So these
Yeah,
were
it was the Discovery merger.
a majority with the Discovery merger. So a lot of these were carryover projects anyway. My Adventures, especially because
Yeah.
originally that was at least if I remember off DC Phantom. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But originally that was going to be more of a Lois Lane focused show, or the very least with Lois Lane as our POV character. Nothing inherently wrong with that, but at least with that style of TV show, it's just not for me. Like if I wanted to
Yeah.
watch a Superman show, I'd go back to STAS any day of the week.
Agreed.
STAS, the Smallville, though it does kind of fall off halfway through.
But Battle Super Show, in my opinion, is not actually movie I suggest because that's Superman centric.
I'm just saying there are other options out there when it comes to Superman adaptations.
Yeah.
For me personally.
Yeah, I agree that.
But if you enjoy it for what it is, kudos.
Yep. We didn't know what season 3 even coming out at this point for that show.
Surprisingly.
Which is weird.
But yeah, I would not be surprised if season 3 got delayed because trying to put Connor Kent in season 3 way too soon, in my opinion. Way too soon.
Also, we have to factor in the James Gunn situation and the other movie that with Netflix.
Hey, let's stay on topic, Tevia.
I know, but
Okay,
but emergency, but I
now
love it.
the asset bid between Paramount and Netflix is yet to be resolved. That is an ongoing inquisition, and we will update y'all on that on a separate stream as it happens. And we have Mr. Dr. Reed Richards. How you doing? All right,
Yeah.
a lot of your subscribers are coming through, Tevia.
Yep.
Hey, what's up, Cameron? How's it going?
Okay, man.
But back to Man of Tomorrow.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Yeah, Man of Tomorrow. That's not going to get confusing in a year's time. But
Yeah.
back to that. Basically, it's like I said, it's a 7 out of 10. Parasite really stole the show, surprisingly,
Yeah.
because Parasite hardly ever gets the time of day. His last major appearance, or at least the last time out, I mean, he did play a role in the DCAU with the Legion of Doom, but that was more of an ensemble role. He might have gotten 2, maybe 3 character episodes focused on him as the villain. He might have gotten 3. No, no,
No.
no. It was 2 in S-Taz. I'm thinking of that one Young Justice episode in season 1,
Yep. That is true.
which that was also a pretty good episode. Not gonna lie,
Indeed. I love that episode. It's kind of fun.
but
I thought very good from Cameron Berry. I agree with that.
the theme was there. The commentary about someone who blends in compared to an alien who looks human compared or looks like a monster, or a monster that looks human. The themes were there. Is just the Archer art style is definitely an acquired taste, but you get used to
Yeah.
it as this series goes on.
Indeed. Like I'm going to argue art style credit because this is a breath of fresh air after the new 52 movies because of the new 58 art style.
The animation itself was fluid. You could argue the art direction was a little bland, but for what they were
Yeah.
able to do with a decreased budget, the animation was pretty smooth most
It
of
was
the
a
time.
breath of fresh air during that time period, and I think it's going to be good. And the movie itself, I think, was good. Well, it was a good restart for the universe. Because it did start with Superman, and you know what? For the first Superman movie, it turned out to be good for what it was. I enjoyed the movie back in the day. Now, was it my favorite Superman movie ever? No. But you know what? At the time, I enjoyed it for what it was, a fun movie. I love, but it's really, this kind of adaptation of 3 story. It adapted American Alien from Matt Randall with book, long story. Man of Steel, man John Burns run, I think. And third adaptation, what's the first story that happened from this movie? Maybe Jeff John's Secret Origin book, I think. Actually, I want that book, actually. I got it in holidays.
Okay. There's not, like I said, Man of Tomorrow is pretty straightforward. Let's go ahead and move on to the second movie in the Tomorrowverse, which I believe was
Yeah, and Long Halloween.
Part 1. I was gonna count Long Halloween as a duelist.
No, wait. I think we got backwards. You know what? Hang on. I gotta just screen share this.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Justice Society World War II came after Superman.
Yeah, let's see. I'm screen sharing right now.
Sure. Okay. Okay. Yep. It's Justice Society World War II. Yep.
Yeah.
Then Batman Halloween Part 1 and 2 back to back over the course of a few months.
Beyond Power, which is a movie, which is a train wreck.
We'll get to it. We'll get to it, Tebia.
Yep.
Then Legion of Superheroes, World War, and then the Crisis Trilogy. Like I said, not counting the Crisis Trilogy, it's roughly 7 films over the course of 3 years. So not bad. Not too long. This stream will probably be about an hour, if that.
Yeah.
But
actually, I could probably use that Amy actually. Right?
Yeah, we'll leave it screen shared. That way we know. That way we can keep track.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just go ahead and leave that. Next is Justice Society World War II. Now, this one had a great twist. I'm not going to spoil it for you on the stream, and especially when you take elements from later films in context. So there is a little bit of world building and setup in regards to that. So with all that included, I would give Justice Society World War II I'd give it a 9 out of 10. The only drawback is the animation. It does get stiff in the third act, especially with the possessed Aquaman and Wonder Woman fight.
Yeah.
Yes, the animation does get a little stiff towards the end, but otherwise everything else was fantastic.
Yeah, it did the Flash, a good Billy on story good. It did JSA great, very happy. So probably one, this will probably the only Judge Society movie we only had one that's done prove me wrong from Kevin Bailey. Hmm, that's fair.
Yeah, because the Justice Society is not that big of an IP.
Yeah. But I love this movie. It was a fun, awesome World War II movie. Because Judge Society put one woman in the movie, awesome, badass, maybe happy. And anyway, this is a good time to have Flash movie done right. The Flash movie, while anyway failed, this did done better.
Okay, there were other factors going into that, Tevye. The Flash movie was
That is true, yes, there are
the
factors
Flash
too.
live action was going to flop regardless, Tevye. But I get your point.
Yeah. Thank you.
But yeah, because that movie was in production hell for a decade. There was no salvaging that film.
Agreed. Like, but my point is, like this movie done a good Flash story. It did a good Judge Society story, and it told a good World War II story for the GSA. It turned out to be amazing. It was a fun, awesome movie. I love it. I love seeing Jada kick ass. I love seeing like Hawkman kick ass with that shock me. Almond was pretty cool. But my favorite character on it was Wonder Woman. Why? Most because this did Wonder Woman had a great acting and it did actually a good story, but also a bonus. Yes, I know you don't want to see each other, but hey, this did see each other at the love story at the very good same with to run 17 movie. And it's gonna be good.
It told the story. It was focused on a specific theme. Don't get so caught up in the life or what's going on that you're not keeping up with the present and slowing down. Like I said, the theme was there. If I had, I mean, the only real nitpick is if you weren't is with later material is if you weren't keeping up with the DVD shorts like with
Yeah,
Commandi and stuff, Commandi, Blue Beetle, stuff like that. If you weren't keeping up with them, some things might go over your head. But otherwise, like I said, Justice Society is pretty solid. It's not a perfect 10 by any means. Like I said, it's a 9. It's just the third act is a bit lackluster and the animation stiff at places.
that's
But
fair.
but otherwise, yeah, it's pretty good. As for Long Halloween, I'm gonna count the entire duology as one film, and it's just a straight adaptation of the Long Halloween from beginning to end. It's a pretty straightforward adaptation. That's probably going to be the only 10 on this list, in my opinion, if I'm being honest. Because,
Yeah,
like I said, Crisis is a solid adaptation. I mean, excuse me, The Long Halloween is a
well,
solid adaptation.
Long really good adaptation. In my opinion, or good adaptation of the RPG, maybe that is still good. Yes, it is some change for it. And for some Pika to be actually shout out from Pika says.
Shout out to Pika Shades on that.
Yep.
But
He
I would argue you really could have done an entire adaptation of Calendar Man and all that in one film. You would just have to cut some. You would have to trim some of the fat, but you probably could have done it like an extended with both aspects together, maybe an hour and 45, right at 2 hours. Trim some of the fat, and you could have done the whole thing in one. But the higher ups likely wouldn't approve that for a straight DVD movie. But
yeah,
as is, right when Bruce gets possessed by Poison Ivy, that's probably a good place to end part one on.
agreed. And
Um,
part two actually that for the story of
Hold on, I
Superman.
disagree. They removed some parts. I did, like I said, it's not a direct one to one. Cameron, it's not a direct one to one, but for adaptation purposes, it's a pretty straightforward adaptation. Now, if you're comparing it to that and even Dark Victory, it's a downgrade because Alberto, yeah, they did change some things because the Holiday Unaliver, that way in case they get demonetized, the Holiday
That's fair.
Unaliver ends up being dual ident. Well, we
Two
already
two
know.
entities.
Yeah, mainly Two Face. It's a kind of a Casablanca scenario where Two Face ends up taking the fall for her at the end, but it was Dula
Yeah,
Dent who wanted revenge on the Falcone family for, let's just say, torturing her from when her and Alberto tried to wed out of wedlock, or and get out of the mobster lifestyle. Alberta didn't stand up to his father to defend her. She ended up tortured. Like I said, that's the cleanest way I can say it without getting demonetized.
yeah.
And she's even struggling after moving on with Harvey Dent years later. Oh, thank you, Cameron. Gilda. Thank you. I don't know
Yeah,
why I
I'm
said
still now I remember. Then Cameron.
Gilda. But yeah, and that's probably the biggest critique in the story is that Bruce's Batman. Not only this is a younger point in his career, is that Bruce just told Gilda to just skip town and never show her face in Gotham again. When I don't think Gilda played that much, or at least it wasn't as big as it was in this movie. Now she probably did play a
Yeah,
role in the original comic, just not to this extreme. You feel for
yeah.
Gilda, don't get me wrong, but Alberto is the type of guy who is a nepo baby with little to no spine. Even if he did want to rebel against the Falcone family, he likely either would have faked his death, or outright skipped town. He wouldn't. But like I said, there are some things you can change in the story. But for what it is, like I said, it's probably the closest you'll get to a 10 out of this entire list. Not a perfect
Wait,
adaptation, but a pretty solid one.
I agree with that. After my rating, Joe, I give the movie at a 5 perfection. They look good at the acting long Halloween. One of the better Batman movie we had at the decade. Because let's be honest, the last Batman movie we got was Batman, but not Batman, Batman. I forget the name. Oh yeah, no, Bad Blood. That was
Part,
disappointing.
but
But
okay, all right. I guess we are talking about the Decameron. All right, quick side note, folks. For all intents and at least from a structure standpoint, I'm not saying in its entirety, but from a structure standpoint, Batman Bad Blood is an animated ripoff of The Dark Knight Rises. It has it's the exact same structure. A femme fatale, the main sidekick, a rookie sidekick, and a close association with Bruce, like say Lucius, like with both Lucius and Luke Fox to varying degrees, who are good, who help manage Batman's tech. The only difference is Heretic instead of Bane.
yeah, and Harry got wasted in that movie. What?
Like, let's be honest, Grant Morrison's run, first of all, Grant Morrison's writing style can be very convoluted at times, let's be honest. And even a mainline approach, they're not gonna unalive a child in an animated film. It's just not gonna happen. The only
Well,
reason they did in the Apocalypse War because it was kind of like DC's ultimatum, and they were gonna wipe the slate clean after regardless.
but
So they
unlike Ultraman with that no reset button, at least that movie had a reset button
exactly.
to an extent.
But like I said, if we count the Bad Blood trilogy to the Grant Morrison run as a whole, it's a lackluster adaptation because you're missing two integral characters such as Jason Todd and Tim Drake. DeCamu
Agreed.
Nightwing ends up acting as an amalgam of Grayson and Tim for the sake of his and Damien's big brother little brother dynamic, and that's best case scenario. Simply put, you really could just say that Damien is just a diet Jason Todd in the DeCamu for the most part.
Yeah,
The only difference is he's more of an entitled brat than a street punk. But again, that's a separate conversation.
yeah, and plus we'll be all day with Damon Wayne and Super Sun stuff because we kind of did that big months ago. Wait, what was it last year?
That yeah, another series I do on this channel is Not Wasted Potential. I haven't started that one yet, but
Mm-hmm.
it was
Yep.
that we did what was it called?
I think there was Super Sun I'd be dead or was it fall of the Super Sun they coming back? I don't remember. It's been so long. I'm so
Hold,
old.
hold on. Uh, let's focus on Long Halloween right now while I look that up. But I'm pretty
Okay.
sure, yeah, because man, I can't remember for the life of me. I know that was at least a year ago.
Yeah, I can screen share. I can try to find it.
Uh, yeah, hold on, just give me a second on that.
Okay.
Blazing Shonen, no, that's another series I do. Anime Blaze, Comic Blaze,
Speaking of Brandon Shaw, My Hero Academia ended after we seen it and so it's finally awesome.
Separate Life of Legend. Yeah, I mostly caught up on the manga, but the anime ending was a delight. Was better, if
The
I'm a
anime
fan.
was awesome.
Yeah,
Let's see. Junkin Superman with a part of Kent.
no,
Tranny 101 issue 800 review.
was it a live stream or was it a pre-recording? Gotham
Let's
War
see.
subscriber special. No, not the Super Sons retrospective, but it was after that. Because
Into the Relic.
it was after that. Perceptions of Storytelling. That was the 5G video we tried to do.
Bordeaux. Dark and Secret review. Blue Vortex. No.
End of an Era.
Good Toriyama tribute, which that put my heart. So let me
5G versus all new, all different. When was it?
Insomnia Celebration on 70. Oh yeah, 2 years ago. Good.
Oh, that's it. Fly too close to the sun.
Super Saiyan retrospective.
No, that was. I'll probably find it, but
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to find it. Well,
but basically the point of that video went into more detail, like certain aspects of basically certain characterization, basically the pros and cons of what was going on at that time. If I get fan requested to go into more detail on that, probably will. But if not, we'll move on.
yeah.
Like I said, Long Halloween, I decided to count both as one whole. Part two, in my opinion, is better than part one. The only highlight of part one is just the initial mystery aspect, which you could connect it. Which, if you actually read Long Halloween, you can connect the dots relatively quickly. And of course, Joker is a means of chaos in any adaptation he's in. But from a story standpoint, part two or the latter half is better than the first.
Agreed.
But
I'll go have IP Super Saiyan Dead IP. What? I think I found it. I think it was even if Frontier or was it self-titled gone bad.
Self-titled gone bad. Yep, self-titled gone bad. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah, I
God,
found it.
it's been so long since that. I think that's been almost 3 years ago.
It said
But
2 years ago.
but basically, the point of self-titled gone bad is usually shelf title. You probably already know this if you're used to comics, but in case you're not, a shelf title is a very story that doesn't play a larger role in the wider line or from an editorial standpoint. Is just kept on the schedule for consistency purposes, and the quality of the run dips as a result. There are a lot of classic examples like Beecham's Batgirl run when that fell off, or
Sonic Hell with an awful book that drove me insane.
well, that one had a bit more momentum to it for both positive and negatives, but again, that's a conversation for a different stream. But even Adam Glass's Teen Titans run is an example. But like I said, but despite my opinions on that one, you're more irritated with what was going on editorially at the time. On its own, in a vacuum, the Adam Glass run is not that bad. I mean, Heroes in Crisis was way worse.
Both were bad, but for different reasons.
But that's a topic for a different stream. But I might bring shelf title gone bad back, and who knows? I might even do a shelf title gone. Well, you know what? If I cover the Adam Glass run, I'll let y'all know if I ever decide to do that. But back to this.
I'll be up for that.
But back to this. Where are we now? Justice Society, Batman. Oh yeah, now we're on Green Lantern. Beware my power. Okay.
Wait, there's one more movie we kind of forgot to mention, and this is actually kind of important because this actually before Green Beware my power. It came out like I think before Green Beware my power. Yeah, no, I'm hang on. I'll make a screenshot.
Okay.
A mystery.
That was a showcase short.
True. But it is part of the Tomorrowverse. It starts back then. It's a major movie. You know what I'm referring to.
Yeah. Okay. All right. It's pretty straight. Like I said, it's more of a showcase short, an extended showcase short. It's like 30 minutes long. But yeah.
Constantine into Crisis.
It's basically the aftermath of Apocalypse War from Constantine's perspective. And despite what we would later find out the larger ramifications of, Spectre sends him to the House of Mystery in an act of mercy. But Constantine can't appreciate it because he's being haunted by those he's hurt, conned, or screwed over the years, both figuratively and literally, knowing Constantine.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then when you make it a long story short, because like I said, this is the showcase short. This is like what, 30 minutes? But to make it a long story short, Constantine, despite this act of mercy, Constantine can't enjoy it because he's bombarded with self-loathing.
Yeah, he wants to punch himself.
And then when he finally does break out, he gets thrusted into the void of what's essentially the universe. gets displaced for millennia, and effectively goes mad.
Yep.
And we'll go into more detail on that when we get to the crisis portion, but that's probably not going to be for at least another 10 minutes.
Yeah. Like overall, I think this animated short for it was a good animated short. It was a good Constantine story because I love Matt and Constantine. Always have it will be Constantine Constantine because he's perfection. I think he did a good job at Kyoto again. I'll be happy, and I think it was a good short story. Is it my favorite showcase? I think he's got my favorite showcase period that came out for the decade. It was a good mystery, a good story, very dark, very messed up.
It's
But
not as good as Constantine City of Demons, which
Sure.
originally was a CW Seed series, which got joined into the DCAMU after the fact.
with adding that change in the movie.
But yeah, City it's not as good as City of Demons, but let's be honest, it had more time to work with. It's not
Sure.
as good as Cities of Demons, but at least, especially when you take Crisis into account, House of Mystery, although you probably could have made a full movie out of it, making it an extended showcase short was probably the better call because it's a short story, it's straight to the point, and it's more set up than it is a standalone.
Yeah.
So, like I said, we'll get into more details when we get to the Crisis portion or closer to Crisis. But if you haven't already seen it, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I recommend it too. It's a Constantine fan or Constantine fan. I highly recommend go check it out. Really good. And the other three showcase the comedy thing at the besides the Constantine show, be at the main one. I think the other two shows are pretty good. I think the other three have a Blue Beetle.
Now, don't try to play any clips or trailers, Tevia. We don't want to get copyrighted.
I'm not.
But yes, Matt Ryan does reprise his role in the voiceover. I know he. I don't know if he used an alias, but I know he himself as Matt Ryan isn't credited in Crisis Part 1.
Yeah.
But he might have used a pseudonym. But either way, he does come back for Part 2 and 3 after the reveal.
Yeah.
But it's really sweet how Spectre tried to help him. Like, dag nabbit, I'm trying to help you so you'd be happy. If you know anything, especially the old Vertigo comics, if you know anything about John Constantine, he's a loner, a drunkard, a self-loathing piece of work. And a lot of it is justified, especially if you read the old Vertigo comics. John Constantine has screwed over a lot of people.
True.
Whether it be out of necessity, fighting demons, or even the occasional con. He has screwed over a lot of people. I'm not saying his kill count, whether collateral damage or otherwise, is as big as the Joker's, but it's at least a cemetery's worth, at least.
True. Well, even he admits that he fucked up at a lot of people. Sorry.
Yeah, let's try to tone down the language.
Yeah, sorry. But
yeah, back to Beware My Power. Okay.
Well, actually, there are three stories. There's Commodity, Lifeborn, Earth, Delusion, and Blue Beetle.
Commodity more so plays a role with the Superman reveal in Justice Society World War II. Again, I'm not going to spoil it. Watch it for yourselves. And outside of that, Commodity just pretty much becomes a cameo going into Crisis. And then the Blue Beetle one, you could argue plays a role with Psycho Pirate, but again, it's more of a reference.
Yeah. And Delusion is that felt like was standalone. That one did not need to be for Crisis. Like, that one confused me. Like, wait, what? I felt lost.
But hold on. Cameron says another failure for Lantern's fans to see if the TV show can bring
a bad delight. Yeah, but still with that.
I'm not gonna say Green Lantern can't carry a movie. It's just the fact that Green Lantern is a very expensive to bring to life in live action, and hardly anyone is gonna commission or warrant that kind of money. Because Green Lantern 2011, say what you will about the CGI, but Green Lantern 2011 is pretty much a condensed version of Jeff Johns' Secret Origins. It's a very condensed version of it. And it kind of jumps the gun with Parallax because if you know the lore, especially Jeff Johns' addition to the lore, Parallax is the entity of fear and kind of the symbol of the Yellow Lanterns in general. So especially if you go with that post-credit scene, again, I won't spoil a almost 20-year-old movie. how can you sequel bait Sinestro as the villain for the sequel when
If you
he's
do
direct?
Parallax already.
I mean, you just can't. Now,
Yeah, makes no sense.
Green Lantern First Flight did that story perfectly.
Indeed.
Sinestro's it doesn't go full on into his, in the source material. Sinestro overthrows his planet's government, becomes a tyrant. It's a whole thing. But the movie kind of First Flight movie kind of streamlined it to where Sinestro was just corrupt, if not disillusioned by the Guardians of Oa's arrogance. But
Yep.
it tells the reason Sinestro was willing to assert fear as a means of control rather than just staying the course through willpower, and a little bit of early teases for like Blackest Night or The Prophecy by Atrocitus. There were some deep references there. Like I said, First Flight is a better version of the 2011 movie because it stems from the same source material and is very straightforward.
But
Whereas
Emerald
20
Knight, it's sort of sequel, kind of, sort of expand the Green Lantern mythology and they gave it more info about the Green Lantern lore and then it'd be good.
Emerald Knights is more of an anthology that references First Flight, but you could see it. But you could headcanon it as a sequel if you really had to.
Kind of,
But
sort of, if you ignore the Sinestro start turning rogue. But they do some Sinestro in that movie.
yeah, like I said, similar creative teams, similar artistic design. Like I said, it's kind of a Public Enemies and Apocalypse scenario to where they're pseudo sequels, but but they're standalone adaptations.
Which I would love a Sinestro core movie at the but to get adapted actually at the Emerald Knight with the art style. It would have been great.
Well, a lot of those two movies mostly focus on Hal Jordan. By the time you get to Sinestro Cold War, both John, Guy, and Kyle are already in place. Sinestro Cold War would have required major setup.
True.
And don't get me started on Blackest Night. Like
The
seriously.
Black Knight that would take a long time to develop, which at this point, honestly, Black Knight actually never happening. But it's a damn shame. I wanted the Black Knight in the movie.
Cameron
No.
says, "I know that Jheat, but beware my power is a failure because I feel they tried too hard to do a Hal versus John scenario."
Oh,
And
we'll get to that.
okay, that's a perfectly good segue.
Yeah.
Okay, Beware My Power is basically Kyle Rayner's origin story, but given to John Stewart. Now,
Agreed.
granted, devil's advocate time. The DCAU did something similar between Hal Jordan and Kyle Rayner. The two major factors. One, they knew they weren't going to adapt Hal Jordan anyway. They did add him in the Jessica Cruz Justice League vs. Fatal 5 as a reference.
Yep.
And you could just play that off to it. Yeah, Hal Jordan does exist in the DCAU, but he mostly focused on, John was constantly on Earth. You could easily play that off. But with that being said, Beware My Power is essentially Kyle Rayner's actual origin, but given to John Stewart.
Yeah. Which is not a good idea. Because why? If you want to do that story at the not Twilight, not Twilight of the Gods. Emerald Twilight. Yeah, Emerald Twilight. Then do Kyle Rayner's story, not John Stewart. That's
No,
part one.
Emerald Twilight's the story of Hal losing his family and home and having him and going power mad.
And
It's
going
a direct-
insane.
insane / power mad during a mental breakdown. It was later retconned that he was possessed by Parallax at the time. Well, Parallax had already infected him and it was building up to that point. But Jeff Johns retcon aside, yeah, Emerald Twilight itself is the story of Hal Jordan's mental break.
It's a very bad story. And a lot of people don't know about that.
Like I said, again, the DCAU got away with it because for all intents and purposes, Kyle Rayner is just an inverse of Hal, like a modern rendition of Hal with a little bit of Peter Parker / Spider-Man sprinkled in. More of an artist instead of a freelance pilot. He's more of a modern revamp than anything else. Yep. Now, at least that's at the time he debuted. Later on, he ends up playing a bigger role, only to get snubbed with Hal Jordan coming back in Green Lantern Rebirth. But again, that's a topic for a different stream. Just know Wally West ended up in a similar situation. But
Wally West actually was more popular than Kyle Rayner.
That is also true. I can't take that from you, Tevye. But yeah, like I said, with that being said, it's basically instead of referencing Reign of the Superman and Hal having a mental break, Hal ends up trying to appease trying to appease relations between Rand and Thanagar with a Zeta Tube test project to channel Zeta Tube energy. The experiment goes wrong. Hal is presumed dead, but gets displaced half across the galaxy. Gets captured by Sinestro, and gets dragged. I know he gets possessed on a random planet.
See, that story members of the world, he had Parallax inside him, which is weird. You don't get that. And then he gave Parallax to Hal, but then Hal got corrupted by Parallax. It made no sense. It might be my content.
Basically, Hal was made to a villain via Parallax. Sinestro plays secondary villain despite being the face on the marketing material.
Yeah, which is dumb.
And let's be honest, Sinestro is not the type of person to play second fiddle to anyone.
Yeah, explain that to Parallax.
The closest
will kill you. Like, what? When I saw that twist, my jaw dropped. I get what? That's dumb. Ugh.
Like I said, you're not gonna. A lot of these were a lot of transition films, and even then, the quality of these movies aren't going to be the best. And the peak of these movies were when they were originally commissioned these off the ground during the DC animated original movies era, 2006 to 2010, or 2011 if we're counting Flashpoint Paradox.
Agreed.
But
stupid bot did a bot in the Twitch.
We're not going to get to that level of quality again. Not in terms of, we're just not. But with that being said, excuse me. With that being said on that, then you pretty much get, the majority of the Green Lantern Corps getting wiped out.
Yep, the Guardian gets killed off again.
Yes, and then a lone Guardian makes his way to Earth. John ends up
picking up. I think it's I forget the guy's name.
Yeah, I don't think he's directly named, but if you know the source material, you can figure out who he is.
Yeah,
Ganthet, but I don't.
It is Ganthet.
Yeah, Ganthet, but his name, he's not addressed by name. He's never addressed by name. But yeah, basically a lone plea while bequeathing a lantern ring to John. Basically Kyle's origin, but we've already established it. John ends up on the Justice League Watchtower, and a lot of world building is just like skimmed over.
That annoyed me. Like, what? Like, at the end of Long Halloween, like, spoiler, I need time to go jumping nuts.
Go ahead. Let me change the headline right quick, because I knew you were going to rant about this.
Yeah, sorry about that. But,
get it out of your system, buddy.
Yeah. Basically, in general, at the end of Long Halloween, we see Batman acting me. Okay, Flash Green Arrow showing up at the Barrington. Albert said, "It's for you, sir," and that's just objectively. Okay, yeah, we're getting technically fine. We're gonna see that objectively funny. But no, we didn't get that. And instead of getting a movie on one, we got a Green Lantern movie. Okay, fine. I'm all for a Green Lantern movie. Let's get your nuts. But instead of doing that, we write that story and get the WWE established. What? Wait. Stop. You're telling me just to get away if we didn't get to see that build up in an actual movie? Why? Are you good? Like, it just drove me insane. That drove me insane. Problem number 2. We see at the Green Arrow at the end, Vixen and Vixen, Green Arrow. They all try to do hard, try and heal it, or at least with fair.
Yes.
Yeah, they did bring it out. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that out, Cameron. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I won't go into too much detail here because I don't want us getting derailed more than we already have. But trying to mimic or recreate hard traveling heroes with Green Arrow and John does not work to the same
work
to where Oliver and John and Hal do. If you actually read that joint title, you could tell how much work, care, and respect Oliver and Hal came. You don't just make a cheeky reference to it and, oh, this is my best buddy. I did what I had to do. And I'm not going to spoil the ending of the movie. But it then harkens to a separate crisis story for its resolution.
Which, if you know that story, you know what it is. 0 Hour Crisis in Time. It's not that story. You know
basically zero. Okay, we'll get to that point when we get there. But basically, John teams up with the Justice League. They take a javelin. Then we get Shira Hall along for the ride as cheap fan service.
Yeah, because people who wanted to get anime show, I think like that couple, but it didn't make sense in this context because they pretend they're meeting each other.
I mean, like I said, it was fan service, and at
Right.
least depend. Oh, right, the DCAU version.
Yeah.
A lot of the DCAU kind of used silver and bronze age as the basis for it. Most of it, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit of post crisis sprinkled in, but that's mostly the. Devia, everything
Yeah.
okay? Okay, but like I said, Shira is a Silver Age character. Well, they're really both Silver Age characters, but Shira is from an earlier point. But make it a long story short, there was a lot of build up in that relationship over the course of Justice League and JLU, and depending on the version, either Vixen, John's rebound, which let's be honest, well, some attribute it as a rebound. Really, John just moved on with Vixen after everything happened in Starcross. But let's say, for the
Yeah.
sake of argument, it was a rebound. Depending on the version, either Vixen gets shelled by Shadow Thief if you go by the original Justice League tie-in comics, or the Justice League revival comic they did a few years ago. I think 2 years ago now, where Vixen ends up breaking things off with John at the end of the story because she ultimately knows and accepts John still has feelings for Shira.
Yeah. With that said, the Batman Beyond future, trajectory beyond.
Which I'm fine with either version because again it didn't really amount to anything because we kind of knew from Batman Beyond that John and Shira were gonna get back, we're gonna reconcile eventually.
Yep.
So whether you wanted to shelve Vixen for for a Shadow Thief follow up or have a subplot in a cosmic story where Vixen breaks things off with John on her own accord, it's subjective to you. I'm not going to tell you one way or the other.
Agreed.
But with that tangent aside, John teams up with really Martian Manhunter and Vixen, but they don't really play much of a role in this.
Yeah, my friend stays on Earth now because he told well, Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman all doing their own stuff. So the only people we have Green Arrow who joined John Stewart, and that's about it. Vixen, I think Vixen did not join as well. Vixen stayed behind as well. So it's just
there was an Adam Strange showcase which directly
That also factored into this movie. I completely forgot about that. Anyway.
Yeah, that gets followed up. I think Adam Strange actually dies in this movie.
Yeah, which is confusing because I thought he survived, but no, he died. Wait, no, that's not true. Apparently, he came back in Crisis. Oops, spoiler.
Yeah,
But he supposedly died in this movie, which confused me because I thought that Adam Strange show we did a showcase. I did not know you're backing into this movie, but apparently it does.
Well, if you're gonna squeeze in Hard Traveling Heroes, the Ranthanagar War, and Parallax, well, not okay technically, but that's because Sinestro is a villainous force.
Yeah,
Sinestro Corps War takes place later. Like I said, by the time between Hal's Mental Break or Emerald Twilight and Sinestro Corps War, you're talking about a decade worth of build up just between those two stories alone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just Beware My Power was just a jumbled mess. If you want to give John Stewart some shine as Green Lantern, fine, but don't drag down another character in expense.
Agreed. But don't drag down Hal Jordan just to prop up John Stewart. I love John Stewart. He was my favorite Green Lantern growing up. Period. In fact, he was my Green Lantern growing up.
If you really want a legacy character propping up the main role, there were really only two examples this was done right. And neither one is really ideal.
Okay.
Wally West and Grayson becoming Batman in 2000 and with Batman
I think
post Final Crisis in 2009. Barry's is better received because Barry was given spoilers for Crisis, but it's one of the biggest comics ever, so you pretty much knows what happens to Barry.
At this point,
it's a great send off. It's a great send off for Barry, and Wally grows into his own in Mark Waid's legendary Flash run.
Yep.
And they actually committed to it until Jeff Johns for about a good 25 years until Jeff Johns got approval by editorial to bring Barry back.
Technically, it was Grant Morrison who did it for in Final Crisis. He did it first.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like I said, they were both creators with DC at the time, so editorial still had to approve it.
Yeah.
But
that's one decision that I would never understand why. Because again, Barry Allen had great depth. You didn't need to undo it just because I think of nostalgia. Keep legacy alive and keep wanting to moving for the character. But Timmy, people care about that. I get that, but I'm sorry, people go wide west more than like me, like more than Barry. Like I never understood that.
Say that to Arrowverse fans, but again, that's a
That's
topic for a
fair.
different stream.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the other is Grayson, and that's kind of the prodigal son, the golden child becoming the Bat. And really, Grant Morrison's run is just an overarching through line throughout. If you even take a chunk out of it for an adaptation, you pretty much squandered the whole thing. That's why I said, as an adaptation, the Bad Blood trilogy was never really going to work because
Agreed.
because Grant Morrison's run had a lot of dark themes you were not going to be able to carry over with a PG-13 rating, let alone on an animated movie budget.
Yeah.
It just
And
wasn't.
not to mention, the way they're trying to document on the story, they had to rush a lot of stuff because they rushed Batman Inc. They didn't do that story justice. They did a hell of a story, but they destroyed the story, it made no sense. And they called out. Called out. That's not Grant Morrison one. That's more Scott Snyder's one.
Well, it kind of bleeds over once the New 52 happens. It kind of bleeds over.
Yeah, that's true. You're right about that. So, it basically a combination of three storylines from the three movies. The result, I completely unmet that make no sense.
And by the time, even when you factor the New 52, Grant Morrison's run ran from 2006 all the way to 2012.
Yeah, because his plan got derailed into New 52. Because remember, Stephanie Brown and Cassandra Cain were supposed to play made it back in
their books were going to get canceled regardless, and they weren't really a factor until Batman and Robin Eternal. But even then, they were only shelved for 2 years.
I think so. I don't remember.
2, maybe 3.
3 at best, because I think Batman Inc. got derailed. And then we got Batman Eternal, which really understandably well, but Teen Titans, which still going with a bad book. And then we got Batman Robin Eternal, which brought back Cassandra Cain in 2015. But then Batman Robin Eternal ended in 2016, then to DC Rebirth, and they shelved video. Okay, that's not true. At the end of Batman Robin Eternal, we had Return to the King, but we got rid of Harper Lowe. Who's Harper Lowe? She's Bluebird, I think.
And like I said, it's a topic for a different stream. But ultimately, like Cameron says, juggling big storylines, especially without proper buildup that made those stories work, it's just going to fall flat. The casuals is going to fall flat, and to actual people who've kept up with the source material, they know you have to cut the fat for an adaptation, especially with a movie. But if you're not going to commit to adapting that one storyline, it's just not going to be received well.
Yeah.
But back to this. Basically, to make it a big battle, and pretty much the entire second act is really just one big battle.
Yeah, because the second act involved at the John Stewart,
Green Arrow, and Adam Strange, and Hawk.
Adam Strange. Yeah, all to find out what's wrong with the war. They figure out that this mystery ship who appear different plans. They find out how to join the jail and prison instead of the Sinestro. Sinestro said, "Thank you for telling me information. I'm glad that he can help." And then he leaves. They find Sinestro. They break Hal out, but then Hal goes way too far. He killed the one guy. Like John Green Arrow said, "Dude, what are you doing? Stop it!" Like this is war. We execute our enemies. Okay, that's red flag number one. What the hell doing here? How doing that killer? He's not a murderer. And then we get Act 3 with the big twist. Because after John Stewart killed Sinestro, even though he had PTSD, which, question, would PTSD part of John Stewart's character?
To an extent. Not in his original origin, but definitely with later retcons that was sprinkled in.
I did not know about that.
But
yeah, basically they find Sinestro, they find his plan, they try to stop his plan. Then we get Act 3. Long story short, they figure out what's happening. They kill Sinestro, which that's disappointment. Why? Why kill off this great villain? I want him to remember, but no, but John said, "Damn you! You gave me no choice." But Sinestro said, "My master will kill you all." Like, what? That made me mad. Then we get the big twist, which is, you know what it is, we know it. The main villain is Jungle. Please, what?
And let's try to keep the rants to a minimum, Tevia. We'd be here all night.
Sorry.
It's all good. But yeah, basically it's I'm not gonna say Sinestro pretty much plays a backseat in his own movie just for the sake of a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Kyle Rayner's origin is exclusively given to John. And then they try to do a little and they try to establish world building with hard traveling heroes. And then offer an emotional build up to the climax with Hal Jordan having no choice. Well, Oliver Queen having no choice. And the drama is there, but there's no build up to everything going on.
And there's no payoff.
It's just lackluster. Just outside the fight scenes and then the fan service with Hal and Shira. And of course the rebuilding of the Green Lantern Corps at the end. Yeah. It just feels like nothing's accomplished.
I feel like nothing happened. Like, look, all this build up for the big twist and no consequences. Like, I'm hungry, let's eat. What? That's it? You're not gonna factor in what the heck happened how join? No revenue of a death or anything? Nothing? No? So dumb.
But like I said, Beware My Power is one of the weakest out of the entire Tomorrowverse. I'd give it I'll be generous. I'll give it a 6 because of the potential that this film could have had. But it's juggling too much at once, very much to the film's detriment.
Yeah.
But if I had to be...
Sorry.
Go ahead.
As for me, I give this movie a 2 out of 5 stars because there's much weighted potential. And I was excited when it was coming out. When the Jheat Bando was there, I was so excited because the movie was awesome. But what I get, I got pretty train wreck. Thankfully, that year I found Super Son, but that movie saved that year for me because that year they were kind of mess, and that movie saved my year was awesome. So that might put me that year. But this movie has so much potential, but they dropped the ball. It was such a waste of potential. Oh, and I'm disappointed.
Okay, next is Supergirl and the League of Heroes.
Supergirl, I think.
Which is basically the same as that one Justice League Unlimited episode where Supergirl gets written out and stays in the future at the end.
Yeah, there's nothing to talk about. The only twist about that movie is the John Hilton villain, which I've been paranoid with this movie. They keep trying to turn Hill into villains. Why?
And even then, I'm actually going to compare the two. In the original, you couldn't use the Fatal Five because they were already using the Justice League versus the Fatal Five for a DCAU revival movie for nostalgia purposes.
Yeah,
you couldn't. So you had to use the Circle or in a variant of Brainiac. Yep. So I can understand that, but making Mon-El a twist villain
I hate that.
I mean, you arguably didn't need that. You could have just had the Circle or even the Time Trapper. Something like that, and because you're already going to have the Miracle Machine, and that plays a role later in a later film. So you really didn't need a twist villain in Mon-El in this one.
Yeah, it made no sense.
But Cameron says,
because why? Why make Mon-El a villain? That's just dumb. Like, you have other villains, use them.
But they're not as recognizable and can get people in seats or to watch. Their biggest ones are the Fatal Five, the Time Trapper, and a variant of Brainiac.
True.
Maybe the Great Darkness, but that's more of an
dark side stuff.
Yeah. That's more dark side stuff and a force of nature than anything.
Yeah, so we can't use that.
But
also, it didn't help that this movie also reestablished Justice again. But the problem is, Jonathan, we don't get to the mirror Supergirl or Superman. We get to see that off screen.
Well, we do get a brief skirmish between Batman, Supergirl, Superman, and Solomon Grundy, but that more so plays into Kara's angst and stubbornness.
Yeah.
And even then, that's just a small. And I think this kind of leads right into World War, like right after this.
Yeah, and a post-credit scene, which goes nowhere.
But okay. Cameron says, okay, the Legion. Now watching this movie, I have two fronts. On one hand, I want the Legion to have their own IP. The other, do you have enough storyline not connected to Clark or Kara for that matter? Yes and no.
Yes and no.
Not you do have material that doesn't have Clark, that doesn't have Superman slash Superboy or Supergirl as a member, but not big enough to justify a movie.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Superboy and the Legion of Superhero TV show exists, from the 2000s. And although a young Clark ends up going to the future and all those adventures, you really didn't need Clark outside of in that show outside of brand recognition.
Agreed.
You could remove that young Superboy out of that old cartoon show, and nothing in the overall series changes.
Well, seeing you actually did it. Seeing you brought Superman in, Superman at the end of season 2.
Yeah, he does age into Superman by that going into season 2, but I was talking about season 1 specifically.
Oh yeah, season 1. My bad.
Okay, but yeah, I thank you for catching that, Tevia. And then we kind of had a pseudo Batman with pseudo Batman. Basically, they were trying to create a foil, trying to get around the bat embargo at the time, and we ended up just getting this emo Superman.
Superman X, I think, or Superboy X.
It was imagine 2003 Connor Kent, but more angsty, more edgy, and completely over the top. That's basically this character. He does tone down by the end of the season, but man, is he annoying in the first couple of episodes.
Yeah,
he's in. But yeah, like I said, the Legion is a decent IP, probably not big enough to warrant its own movie without having without having the likes of Superman or Supergirl for brand recognition. It's decent on its own, but if you're actually going to justify making a movie about them, you're gonna need one.
You're gonna need more story. Yeah. By the way, I found it. I found the character talking about. I'm just gonna see right now.
Okay. Yeah, basically this character in the center.
Yep, that's him.
Yeah.
Like, he was a bad character, but he felt very confusing. Oh yeah, the main with Imperiax.
Yeah, he's kind of a mix of Connor Kent Superboy and Batman.
Yeah.
Basically. But yeah. Where was I? Oh yeah. Like I said, and this even goes into the DCU for that matter, because even with Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, if Supergirl ever does decent and it gets greenlit for greenlit for a sequel, excuse me, they're gonna do Legion. Like, I'm sorry, they're gonna do Legion. There are not that many Supergirl stories that truly stand out or connect or don't connect to Clark in a significant way.
The only the Supergirl story that I look man that actually outside of Clark is the early Batman one. We actually learned that's pretty good. Granted, it has a power in that storyline. It was confusing because it was weird. But other than that, the dark side stuff, that's more Apocalypse. So we can't use that. So
I'm just saying it's a wait and see. I mean, yeah.
Well, okay, there's one storyline I think they could do. Maybe do the Red Lantern storyline. I know Red Lantern and Supergirl was controversial back in the day, but maybe you make one. Maybe it's me.
But yeah. But what was I saying? Oh yeah. Now we're at Justice League War World. Now this movie is
wait. We never go away to Legion.
Wait, I thought we did go over Legion.
No. We never gave a
ranking. Right. Okay. Yeah. Legion, like I said, it's similar to her Justice League Unlimited episode where she's written out and chooses to stay in the future to be with Brainiac 5 at the end. Just a downgraded version of that same episode and dragged out into an 1.5-hour movie. So based on that comparison alone, I have no choice but to give it a 5. Like, it does make changes to justify its existence, but those changes aren't well received. Because you can't use the Fatal 5 because obviously Justice League in the Fatal 5. So, like I said, I'm sure the creators made the best out of a bad situation. But if I had to rank it compared to everything else, I have to give Supergirl and the Legion a solid 5, like right in the
Yeah,
middle. That's the fairest I can make it.
I agree with that. After me, I give this movie a 3 out of 5. Mother got a super good fan, the fun super good story, but as a fan, not now a fan of Legion, more of a casual fan of Legion, this was kind of 2 out of 5 because it was a waste of time. It wasn't all bad, but it was just why. Also, the way it finally it just felt rushed to me. That just felt rushed. I'm not a fan of that. But other than that, it was a fine movie. Not the best, not the worst, but just okay. The Supergirl fan, I think you enjoy it. The Legion fan, you can probably skip it.
Yeah, just what you're better off watching the old Legion of Superhero cartoon and call it a day.
Yeah. Or watch the Fatal Five movie. The movie also good.
Yeah, that one's pretty good too. Not gonna lie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But but yeah, now we get to Justice League World War. Now this one we're just gonna get the ranking out of the way. This is, in my opinion, a 3 out of 10. Not for, and even if you factor everything into Crisis, because all this movie is set up for
Yeah,
Crisis.
it's not quite. I know it is because
Out-
Mongo got wasted.
There is literally, even in the individual sequences for the Trinity, there's no story going on.
Yeah, like all it is, but he was caught.
Wonder Woman in the scenario in the Old West versus Jonah Hex. Superman pretty much living a parody of an old 50s monster alien movie.
And Batman in not
Yep.
War. I forget the name. Scott Harris, I think.
Scartera, yeah, and Batman and Scartera basically.
Yeah.
But like I said, it's on top. It's not really much of a story on its own, and it's a slow burn going through all three scenarios to the point that you don't even get the Trinity converging, recognizing where they are, and even breaking out of the simulation to almost right at the hour mark. And the entire third act, or remaining 30 minutes, you can even call it that.
Yeah.
It's just one big fight scene. Now, Lobo is the saving grace of this movie.
He is.
Like, Lobo's funny. He's a foil for Mongrel. Even Martian Manhunter's presumed sacrifice. It's a decent third act. Not enough to save this movie.
Until that with Harbinger.
Not enough to save this movie by any stretch of the imagination, but a decent third act for what's essentially a lackluster movie.
Agreed.
A decent third act, just not enough to save it. At least not on its own.
Agreed.
If I had to say in this, I probably would have made World War an extended showcase short like House of Mystery was and just called it a day.
Same. I would have done that well, but that would make a lot more sense. It's a bit of a story, but there ain't no story. It makes no sense. Like, you're telling me that all these three stories they feel off connected. They mean nothing, and then all we get the plot with that to get confused with Martian Man being captured. Which when the hell did that happen? That makes no sense. And then he dies, which is much. We'll get that later. And that's it. And Mongo gets wasted. Mongo is not gonna use him. Do something.
As for the simulations themselves, I would have to say Wonder Woman was the best because at least we got Jonah Hex out of it.
You know, he's a villain. But I don't like that.
Then Batman on Scarteris is a very close second. Because it's Batman on Scarteris. Like, who isn't going to have fun with that concept?
I agree. But he's a mercenary. That's fun.
And Superman, and by process of elimination, Superman's the weakest out of the three because it's literally just Clark in a 50s alien monster movie.
It's pretty good being a body snatchers, but for white Martians. I think they're white Martians. I don't know who the aliens are.
But I guess they were white Martians.
That's my best guess. I can get from Martian Manhunter.
But yeah, Martian Manhunter sends them psychic clues to help them gain self-awareness and get out of the simulation, and then they team up in a final brawl against Mongrel's droid.
Jack and I can't say the other word began.
And then the ship pretty much explodes. Martian Manhunter gets them.
And himself, Mongo dies, which is fierce.
I think Lobo makes it out too, because I don't think Lobo plays a role in Crisis.
I think Lobo maybe survived. I don't remember. It's been so dang long since I watched this movie. Yeah, that's right. And then Harbinger took him out of nowhere. Which, what? Who this kid? Okay, I ain't talking what you're saying. When this guy turned out of nowhere, Harbinger.
Hey, hold on. let me look this up because I don't even think it was a World War was even a full 30 minutes, was even a full hour and a half, which is the usual length of an animated direct DVD release.
Yeah, I found it 1 hour 29 minutes. I'm just couldn't so I know.
It's an hour. Wait, it's right at an hour and a half with credits. An hour and 29.
Yeah.
With credits is right. That means not counting the credits. It's probably right at 120, 125, not counting the credits. Like I said, this feels like an extended showcase short, similar to House of Mystery. But at least with House of Mystery, you could justify a simple story like that. Especially, this is the weakest of a World War story
I ever seen it, even disappointed Peanut Mongo. I agree that.
Because that wasn't the point of it, Cameron. The point of it was literally just to set up Crisis.
Yep, that's all it was.
I'm not going to say it was a rush job because these people are doing the best with what they're given. So I'm not going to just slanderize, badmouth, or say it was a rush job. But this did not have to be a full DC animated movie release. Like I said, this could have just been an extended extended showcase, excuse me, like House of Mystery was, maybe right at an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes, and called it a day.
By the way, I found the image on the screen share right now.
Oh, thank you. Which we will get to the major change they did with Harbinger, which I am not surprised they ended up doing.
But it did connect to World.
Yeah. But you do not know about that change going to World War.
Yeah, this confused me. When I started, I do like on demand, when I watched the movie, I said, "Who this shit? I don't know what this is. Who the heck is this shit? Why is he here?" And she put the training on, and then the World War explodes. What? I didn't like that. That's dumb. That's any little sense. Explain. And then don't finish the movie ends. Useless.
And then, okay, now at least I helped contribute and collab with Pika for his Crisis review almost a year and a half ago. Well, really closer to 2 years now. So shout out again to Pika Shades and everyone who helped with that project. But we'll go through each part one by one.
Wait, I should never give mine to World War.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. And for me, when this movie came out, I was disappointed. I give it a 1 out of 5. I hate this movie. This movie drove me mad. White Justice movie also bad. This was a waste of potential, waste of time, and just got 200 point on one point by hand they were given and bought everything. I agree, Cameron. Thank you. And this movie gets bad. F this movie, and I don't want to ever again. This movie drove me insane, and screw this movie. Yep.
Glad you got that out of your system, Tevia.
Thank you.
But now we're gonna move on to Crisis Part 1, which we can now the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Okay. They basically turned Constantine into Pariah.
Yeah.
Which is what we alluded to in House of Mystery, if you hadn't already. But he did have cameos here and there as a random hobo in Beware My Power. That's why we didn't bring it up during that segment.
Yeah, I could be.
And he might have had another cameo leak prior to that one, but I can't remember. I know after post House of Mystery. I know he gets another cameo in Part 1, leading as Barry is on Earth 3 with the crime syndicate.
Yeah.
So I know he gets it, but I'm pretty sure he had a third cameo, but I can't remember which movie it was.
Yeah, I can't remember either. Maybe it was Long Halloween.
It might have been. It might have been, but I don't remember which part.
Yeah, I don't remember either. I think it's Part 2 or Part 1. I don't remember. It's been so much since I watched the movie. I we go to Long Halloween again, so I could figure out if he's in that movie or not.
Yeah, it might have been 2. I just might be thinking it's 3 for some reason.
Yeah. He was in agreement with Beware.
Yeah, that was when he was the mindless hobo. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I know. The second cameo, I think, with this movie. And
then he actually starts playing a supporting role in parts 2
and
3.
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, that's what it was. But then you get the reveal, and then he plays a major role in Part 3. Okay. Okay. All right, but back to Part 1. This is basically Barry's comeuppance for the role he played. We're not going to reveal it here because it gets revealed in full in a later part.
Yeah, we'll get that later.
For what's essentially how the Dikamu ended. Constantine got his comeuppance in House of Mystery, and then Barry's going to get his comeuppance leading to his death over the course of part 1. But before we get to that, we take a major 45-minute detour in the past, the formation of the Justice League. This version of Bruce not taking Grayson in to become Robin, but just chucking him at an orphanage. The
Yeah,
Justice
man,
League
Wally went to this movie, but not the way Wally went to Wall's quest. Which makes no sense. It should be Wally, not Wally.
and an entire battle sequence that pretty much rips off the Amazo episode from JLU verbatim.
Yeah, that annoyed me. Like, what? Why? Why would
At
you like
least make the design good.
the design look? I didn't like it. It looked like basic. Also, wait, isn't Russ doing this movie well?
I would say it's the strongest out of the three. Part 2 feels like a part 1.5.
True.
And because it mostly because part 2 mostly focuses on the Monitor, Kara, and Psycho
Pilot. Literally so boring.
Well, we'll get to part 2. We'll get to part 2.
I think on the wiki it even said he picked up by the court.
But once you factor a 45-minute expedition dump with all the world building and the flashbacks, you then get them valiantly trying to set up the monitor towers
and the anti-monitor.
Oh, I'm skipping the crime syndicate stuff. Basically, Barry ends up on Earth 3. Barry ends up on Earth 3, finds out that this world is filled with villains. It has villains instead of heroes. And then, despite a valiant attempt to save as many people as possible, for some reason, the crime syndicate dashed straight first into the antimatter wave to get right. Or at least Ultraman tried.
Ultraman tried to. He tried to say, like, oh, I'm sure I'm going to punch you and just get it away because I'm smart.
I think everyone else kind of just tries to prepare for the inevitable, but
Ultraman he runs away because he's never gonna die or down the leave.
Power Ring pretty much cowers.
Yeah, it's actually it's John Stewart Power Ring, not Hal Jordan Power Ring.
Okay.
It's confusing because I got in Punch Syndicate. It's Hal Jordan Power Ring. Why is John Stewart Power Ring here? Wait a second. No. Is this based off the Earth 3 Crime Syndicate book from years ago? The recent one?
Yes.
I figured. I wonder about that.
I prefer the Squadron Supreme. Thank you, Michael Brent, 1536.
Yeah.
Cameron Bailey. Cameron says, respect to the Syndicate. This is our world. We ain't letting no one take it. Okay, they at least went down. At least
Ultraman went down cat fighting.
Yeah, at least Ultraman.
Ultraman plan made no sense because, well, I got new. I'm going to blow it up because I don't care to live. This Element did it.
But basically Barry's kind of all over the place. Then we get the I guess Constantine he doesn't play a role in part 1.
Well, actually he does. He showed up the Earth 3 when he showed like to the crime set again. I think he showed him like the world, but it's getting destroyed in an anti-man wave. He showed back on the thing that's happening, and then we cut back to the future with him, the old man, with Iris. Which, what?
We're skipping ahead, Tevia. Basically, basically, the only way to really set up the monitors in time is to pretty much slow for Barry to run so fast. He pretty much slows everything around him.
Yeah.
Then he gets to live his long life with Iris like they always wanted.
And a very, very, very super slow moment because every time frozen.
And then Barry sacrifices himself to finally power up the treadmill with the help of Amazo.
Yeah, but we kind of skipped some parts. We kind of skipped the part I think with the Jessica forming. I think we did talk about that. My bad. Because Lex Luthor is mastermind in that story, which why I don't get that. Whatever. Major stuff. We talk about it. We just did monitor in this movie, and I will say this. I think they did a monitor good in this movie. Oh yeah, we were Harbinger. The Harbinger review this movie.
Yes, basically, it's basically Supergirl. Like we might as well rip the Band-Aid now.
Yeah, it was Supergirl.
Supergirl gets time to, in a rare moment of sentiment on the monitor. Right when Krypton was destroyed, he took pity on Kara and time displaced her after Krypton, and she's basically raised on the monitor ship. until he ultimately let Kara go and land on Earth.
Which confused me because why would Marty get a Supergirl? Why is Supergirl Harbinger? What why can it just make Harbinger? I don't
They
get
wanted
it.
to create a father-daughter dynamic to where now even if Super Kara, I should say at this point,
Yeah.
gets the only difference, at least with the Arrowverse, they did a direct. Even if they were limited, they made a direct. It was a solid adaptation.
We're trying to play the Emirates. Every day
Yeah,
get the story 10 times better.
it was a solid adaptation for the most part. The only difference is Barry from the old '90s show ended up dying, and Oliver ended up becoming the Spectre. But other than that, it was a pretty straightforward adaptation with such a limited roster of characters.
Yeah, I agree that.
It was pretty straightforward. Whereas this is a bit more muddled. Like I said,
Yeah.
Kara ends up becoming a stand-in for Harbinger. She gets time displaced by the Monitor. More details in part 2,
Yep.
and that
They
and
also
then,
show at the Luigi Super at the return. Well, one Luigi Super return at the Dawn Star.
yeah, and that's how that future ends up getting erased.
Because
And the
we're
only way you
all on
can
time at the ending, and there's nothing we can do, and
they
Super
don't
goes out.
The whole point of Legion of Superheroes is that Kara can't really connect to Earth because of all the futuristic aspects of Krypton, to the point to where Kara threw a mini tantrum over it. But once you get into Crisis,
It's that movie, but he's
Monitor
fine.
saved her. Monitor saved her. She's time displaced for years, and then he ultimately accepts her reconnecting with her cousin and reconnecting with him on Earth. So either she repressed everything that happened on the Monitor ship and threw a tantrum for no honest to God reason, or Monitor wiped Kara's mind the moment she left the ship. And then
I'm written the letter.
and then while she was with the Legion and with Brainiac 5, she eventually got her memories back.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's just confusing. That makes the Luigi Super movie even more point confusing. Wait a second. Now that I think about it, Retcon makes We the Superheroes completely pointless now because it makes that story more confusing.
Calm down, Tevye, but you're gonna have an aneurysm.
Ugh, sorry.
Michael said, "Oh, we're getting a Captain Planet live action."
I'm so done with the same to the Elvis. I don't feel about that.
Okay, Michael, I don't know if you're joking, if you're pranking us, or if that's something that's actually happening.
If it's true, then that's good.
That is very concerning. That is very concerning. But yeah, like I said, part 1 is basically the first up until the first half of Crisis, leading up to Barry's death.
Yeah, and should we just cut the chain and start spoiling with Barry on death? I need to talk about this because I want to talk about this death.
Go ahead. I mean, that's basically the most famous part of Crisis.
Yeah.
Barry.
Because the way they got Barry on death in this movie, it's not epic. It's not the same. Because in the comic, you know what? I need to screen share this because I do like it.
It's not as gravitas. I will give you that. It is not
Yeah.
gravitas. It's kind of like, oh, I have to do this, and Barry's kind of paying for the sins his doppelganger did, which even in this context, he was forced to do under a compulsion spell by Constantine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I found the image on screen share right now.
Okay, yes, he destroys the antimatter cannon and is literally getting disintegrated in real time.
Yeah, this is a far better death. This death was epic. This death, my cannon. He said my cannon. No! Kaboom! That is actually a great epic death for Halo. He died in Halo. He died in a fast, and it's awesome. I want this. This is the death I want to see in animation. But no.
With the exception of a few distortions in time where he gets a chance to, interact with Batman, Iris, say goodbye to his loved ones. Outside of some brief time distortions here and there, that's essentially Barry's death. But even then, both those aspects are happening around the same time.
Yep, that is true. And this is the death I want to see that animated this coming late. But no, we didn't get that. Instead, we got Rock on the death and because you don't have to expect the show to at the out of nowhere. Long story. And then he said, like, you're gonna die because of mistakes you did in the past, I think. I don't know the word.
Basically, everything with Apocalypse War and with House of Mystery. So,
even though
basically, Tomorrowverse Barry is being punished for something his Dikamu counterpart did.
Yeah, I don't like that. That's just dumb. Like, what? That makes no sense.
And
That's
even in that,
stupid.
and even if you take Crisis in its entirety, he was technically bound under a compulsion spell and made living poison.
Yeah,
So
my
you could
conscience.
argue Barry had
My
no real
conscience is
agency in
fault.
the situation.
Yeah, it's just dumb.
I mean, granted, he still went through with it because the alternative was the Earth slowly dying. He
Oh
still,
yeah, I forgot. This movie also established with Earth 2 Superman and Earth 2 a couple. Okay, sure.
I well, yeah, part one did do that. Okay,
Yeah, that one
and
did.
Michael Brent says it's true. They just announced that Netflix is making a live action Captain Planet series. Okay,
Oh boy.
okay, this could go either mid or egregiously bad.
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude, you can turn the webcam on if you want.
Oh, okay, thank you. There is no in between. Like this is
Yeah,
not gonna,
that's
this
so
is
funny.
oh this is not gonna be pretty.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that's gonna be a fun at the what thing to watch at the internet.
but
Maybe that's the kind of point Tom the recent one it can be good.
okay, but
Maybe.
back to this
Let's have
movie.
this.
Very, I mean, granted, it's convoluted in places, and it's not as gravitas as destroying the antimatter canon in the actual source in the comic itself. But for everything they were trying to build up to, I feel like it was a decent death. Not as grand, not as gravitas, and despite having Wallace West instead of Wally West, Wallace has no role in this. He's just
Well, this Jack and I can't
it's
say it.
it's a glorified cameo, so you don't even get Wallace. You don't even get Wallace in all
You're
of
gonna
this.
get Kid Flash, which annoys me. Like, why? Why did Dwayne that? He's not gonna do Kid Flash.
Like I said, Wallace was more of a glorified cameo. I mean,
Yeah.
he doesn't really play a role in the larger crisis. But whereas in the main material he did, it was kind of the whole thing was really Barry's swan song. But
So
again, Wally doesn't play much of a role in this version.
yeah,
And then but again, Barry makes the big sacrifice, turns on gets the ending
it's the tower thing. I think to stop
yeah,
the
tower's
antimatter
working.
wave.
The tower's working, and then they at least have a fighting chance going into part two. Part two
Yeah.
is the weakest of the trilogy by far.
Yeah. Wait, should we give a rating in part one?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna rank them separately. All right. Part one, and then we'll do a separate ranking for the trilogy as a whole by averaging the three.
Okay.
Part one specifically gets a 7, with the biggest critique being Barry's death. Not being grabbed. But again, they were limited by their budget.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, you were never going to get a 1-to-1 adaptation with Crisis. It's just not going to happen.
I want to get a big way anime movie with it at the out point, but we didn't get that. I'm just going to be by Super Prime.
That's Infinite Crisis.
That's Infinite Crisis.
But an Infinite Crisis adaptation would be badass.
Infinite Crisis, I think, would be really bad and awesome. I'd love to see that.
But Tevia, the Superboy versus Titan scene is a slaughter.
It is.
Like, if that ever gets adapted to an animated movie, they would have to severely tone it down.
They're gonna make rated R, rated PG-13.
Yeah, you would have to make an Infinite Crisis adaptation rated R. You kind of have to from the
Yeah, they're gonna have to. Look at that. Oh, okay, that killed off at the in that story. I didn't turn the care.
If you're gonna do it 1-to-1, if you're gonna sanitize it and to make it to justify PG-13, go nuts. But a true solid adaptation, it's gonna have to be rated R, just from the core alone.
Yeah, because she went blind, killed a lot of people. Like, you thought you were unstable at the in Countdown? No, he's more stable in this. Countdown is a mess, but this story made him a lot more psycho. Which actually, now that I think about it, she was probably actually in the original part of the Eminem story.
He does play a role, yes.
But in this movie, he's not in this movie.
Because again, he barely he does contribute to the battle at certain points.
Yeah. He had to help stop the antimatter.
Yeah, but other than getting thrusted into the pocket dimension, other than the original ending with the pocket dimension, spoilers for a 45-year-old comic, but they weren't going to do the pocket dimension ending. At least they weren't going to end it that way. Everyone was going to get a clean slate going forward.
No. And they weren't going to do the Super 3 stuff. We're not going to do that storyline because we cut off in this movie. Off screen.
But like I said, Superboy Prime doesn't really play much of a role in this version.
Yeah. He's not in this movie. Didn't even exist.
Well, he's not. There's no model or reference to him.
True.
But
Earth 3 Lex Luthor. He's not in the, okay, he's in this movie as a decapitated head.
Mm,
Yeah, constantly killed him off screen.
yeah, but what was I saying? Oh yeah, okay. Part two is the weakest of. It's mostly just part two.
Wait,
is
I
mostly.
didn't get my ranking for part
Oh,
one.
go ahead. Go ahead. You never gave your ranking for part one.
I think this movie, you know, as a fan of the even though we actually don't a billion on depth, I give it a 2 out of 5. Okay, it felt showing my really potential. Now, is it a bad movie? Okay, you know what? Check it out. I'm at 2.5. Movie as a Flash fan, it's fine.
It's serviceable.
It's serviceable at best. It's not grand ever billion David in the comic. I think billion David going on for better. This was a fine part one at best. Do I hate it? No, I don't hate it as much as I used to, but it takes away the potential. And it Korean fans wasted and just wasted, but that's it.
And
now
okay.
part two.
Okay, thank you. Part two is pretty much backstory and expedition. It's not as bad as the flashbacks and kind of bury all over the place, that whole 45-minute segment. It's not as bad, but it does mess up the tone. It's mostly what we discussed with Kara and Harbinger, her backstory, her time displacement, and Anti-Monitor developing a father-daughter bond with her. Psycho Pirate's narcissism and psychopathy. And everything leading up to him getting kind of recruited by the Anti-Monitor. Kind of.
But the Anti-Monitor.
But then going to part 3, the villains pretty much catch on that what Psycho Pirate did, and then they torture him on another Earth in the bleed. It was a whole thing.
It was a mess.
I get after Barry's death in the source material, Psycho Pirate was pretty much forgotten about, but yeah.
Oh yeah, part 2 some cameos. I can't put this up. Hang on, I'm screen share right now.
Okay, while we're waiting on that.
Here it is.
Yes, this was the majority of the marketing for part 2, the multiverse Bat Family scene.
And Beyond, which I was so excited about Beyond, been happy, but he graduated the movie with what? You put Batman Beyond, and I don't get to see more Batman Beyond. That pissed me off.
The original actor for Batman Beyond came back for this, and he got like 3 lines.
Yeah, I didn't like that. Why? You put Batman on my big Batman, and you don't use them. Do something. Ugh. Yeah, it's Damon Wayne Robin, with
Grayson Robin, which really you might as well just make Nightwing at this point.
Yeah,
but I get it. You had Earth 2 Grayson still Robin even in his adulthood.
Yep.
Contrary to popular belief, Grayson rebranding as Nightwing was a relatively modern concept. Either he remained in earlier stories, like in the 60s and 70s, he either remained Robin or retired altogether.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah, because again, the Nightwing persona debuted with Judas Contract in, I believe, 1984. I know it was right before Crisis.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It was right before Crisis, like 1984.
Let's see.
1984. It was a 4-issue story in New Teen Titans. It was it was a 4-issue arc, and that's where you get the Disco Wing design. Yeah, because Grayson, although he had left being Robin, he kind of was civilian during that time, and Donna was team leader. Yeah, Judas Contract. It's a popular story for better or for worse, but Judas Contract had like 2.5 years worth of build up. If you actually read,
but it was good.
If you read Wolfman and Perez's run, even the social commentary about quid pro quo and the less said about Slade and Terra, the better, because I do not want to get demonetized. But for all intents and purposes, it's a very solid story and a key story to the mythos. The only difference between this Teen Titans 03 and the DeCamu version, 03 actually made Terra somewhat sympathetic rather than just basically Harley Quinn before Harley Quinn.
Yeah,
Terra was just a traumatized girl who needed guidance from her powers in Teen Titans 03 and ultimately trusted the wrong person. DeCamu tried to have their cake and eat it too by
making it a monster, but also trying to make it some of a character. It didn't work. It failed.
But even then, Terra was always kind of monstrous to a degree because it was supposed to be a parallel between her and her brother Geoforce. Despite similar
Yeah.
circumstances, one can be can strive to do good, whereas the other can be selfish and strive to do bad. With a
Also, people forget, Judith Contra also into Jericho, Deathstroke other son.
yes, and he plays a role, but in the Dikamu version,
That in
Jericho
the movie. Okay,
in
he
the
did the movie at the very end, but that goes nowhere.
he was a post-credit scene, and according to interviews with James Tucker, he was going to play a role in a script for Teen Titans 3, but it never saw the light of day.
Wait, that sucks. I want to
And
look at that third movie.
and the only thing you really could do with a Titans 3 is maybe
When Sabrok and the team.
Nightwing and Starfire getting married on Tamaran. Like that's probably or a major aspect in their relationship, with maybe a little bit of angst and fallout from Damian from the Judas Contracts events. Like
Yeah,
let's
Deathstroke actually come back and not be Ryder Pit nonsense or be Damon rival. That always bugged me in the Camu. Why make Deathstroke Damon's rival? Why make Deathstroke Nightwing's rival? That's his villain, not
I
Damon.
get what they were trying to do, especially with the nostalgia for Teen Titans 03. But the rivalry with Deathstroke is really the Deccan was really going for off a Deathstroke and Batman rivalry from the Arkham games, which is practically
Yeah.
non-existent in any other medium. But other than that, it's pretty much Scar from it's pretty much the Lion King. That it's basic. I mean, Son of Batman, Son of Batman 2013 is basically Lion King, but with superheroes. Oh, I was next in line. I was a high contender. I was deprived and snubbed.
And
No, and it's
I
almost
could be Rachel Gould.
yeah. The initial raid on Ra's al Ghul's compound wasn't even about Damien. Damien's just a byproduct for being Bruce's kid.
Yeah, that's like stupid. And Deathstroke motivated to go to lead. He's an assassin, not a
Slade is more of a mastermind supervillain. He does become a secondary villain in season 4 for Trigon, but any other appearance, Slade is always the manipulator, the mastermind.
Yeah, he's an assassin.
A dark Batman, if you will.
Yeah, and that's all he is. He did Nightwing villain through and through. Trying to make him a Batman that like Demon Wing villain is dumb.
And it just doesn't well, at least with Deathstroke and Batman, that's more of a rivalry than anything else, not a nemesis dynamic.
Yeah.
That's a rivalry at best.
That's true.
But like I said,
and look how way off topic are we?
Yeah, we're going on a tangent at this
point.
But
I thought Jheat Contra whole a good story. It's a chronic story when it's a world organization. Is it perfect in today's standard? No, but honestly, I enjoy the was a good story.
It's a classic. The whole Marv Wolfman and Perez run in itself is a classic. But it does have its faults, and it's very much a product of its time.
And but it's not really DC could bring Taylor back to life. Why? We were dead. But that's not how we're gonna
But like I said,
back to Crisis. I thought the Bat Family. This Bat Family was wasted. They do nothing, and just with the time and just with the potential.
And the Shadow Demon.
That's the one I'm excited for, but they wasted it.
Yeah, and the Shadow Demons were kind of wasted too. They were kind of just like you just had to expose them to a huge chunk of light. But like I said, this whole thing as a whole, they had a major budget increase, and they were just doing the best with what they were given. But the Shadow Demons did not come across as a genuine threat in part 2, like at all.
Yeah. They didn't feel like a threat. They didn't feel like they don't kill any heroes, but there's the one Shadow Demon they usually kill heroes. That happens. The villains do. That's the primary movie. The villain primary, let's really play make no sense. That's in part 3.
But basically this kind of leads into the major aspect. They're building up to the big reveal that instead of the Anti-Monitor corrupting Harbinger as she's warping around different Earths trying to save
Psycho Pirate,
she gets brainwashed by Psycho Pirate, and then in an angst-induced tirade, Jheat visions the Monitor to death.
With it dumb. Because what? You're telling us talk about manipulating Supergirl to the point that he get in the Monitor? Why? Oh, it's Psycho Pirate I can manipulate. Oh wait, I remember now.
The Monitor amplifies his power.
Why am I power? Because Monitor is an idiot. Because Anti-Monitor contact Psycho Pirate somehow? get how that happened. It's confusing because second part in the comic, not second part. Anyone or cannot bury on in the comic, but and died in this movie. Meaning, anyone now had free reign to get second part. It didn't make any sense. The more they went, the more my brain exploded. Those stupid things. Ugh.
Like I said, okay, with all that being said, for part two, like I said, it's the weakest out of the trilogy, but on its own, I would give it a 4 out of 10. I wouldn't give it a solid 5 because the pacing is atrocious.
It is.
The pacing is atrocious, and the high level in the cat and they did something similar to the Martha scene from Batman v Superman with John Constantine's reveal.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Basically, my name isn't Laundry. My name is John.
My name is John Constantine. That's my name.
And then Pariah finally remembers his name and reverts back to Constantine. And it's just a cringy piece of dialogue, and that's basically the biggest thing part two is remembered for.
Yeah, it's just dumb. Also, the way this movie ended with it's the Antimon, he's buying an Antimon design, it sucks. I hate it. You know what? I hate the Antimon design because it just really pissed me off last time in part two. Like, what? That's the Antimon? You tell me when from the Antimon we know from the comics, which is a great design, by the way, did a product design. I love design. Sue me. To this design? To this? This is boring. This was generic. Sorry for the cursing, but this is stupid. It's not antimatter. This is antimatter. Green Lantern got this right. What? Couldn't we get this? Not this. Stupid. I hate it.
To be fair, they knew Green Lantern, the animated series, was going to get canceled after one extended season, so they just pulled all the stops with the Anti-Monitor arc.
But which is awesome and badass and amazing. And he got flip. This Anti-Monitor sucks.
Well, it's like I said, it's kind of like the Great Darkness. It's more of a force of nature than a genuine villain.
Yeah, I don't like that. Stupid. Like, I like this design better. This was the design that I grew up with because it made sense. This design is boring and stupid. And this is part two. Part two ends with the Anti-Monitor. So now you die and that's it. That's how part two ends. Wow. What a waste of a villain, and you wasted this great villain. Stupid.
And Cameron makes a great segue for part three, but that's a major reveal towards the end of part three. So we're not going to say it.
We'll say that for later, but my Mega Land, but I will let that awful reveal.
But yeah, part three takes place right after.
Wait, I didn't get my rating.
Oh, my fault. Go ahead.
It's okay. For me, this movie, I give it 1 out of 5. This was stupid. This was a waste of my time. This made me angry because you're telling me we wasted 45 minutes of a movie for flashbacks that was so unnecessary. Second my backstory was just stupid. Super good backstory was more confusing. And it was nothing. What's that bad one? Yeah, it's okay, Kevin. But useless. After anyone design, I hate it. It's awful. And this movie is awful. Screw this movie. And I don't want to ever again. Yep. Went over.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. But all right. Part three. Okay, like I said, part three takes place right where part two left off, with with Supergirl grief-stricken over the Monitor. They're trying to figure out what to do.
Yeah. And wait, we missed something. When the Monitor dies, his energy gets released to other tower things.
Yeah, but that's part of the story itself. So
true. That's fair.
But yeah, part three basically it's just an all you get a bit of a reprieve and kind of like a few week time skip into the bleed, kind of like as a safe haven between the Monitor.
The Earth got terrible thanks to the Monitor dying.
And then Lex Luthor tries to calculate, like, yeah, we could wait him out, but eventually we would. But if we did that, we'd starve to death before he finds us. So
yeah, and the other have resources. But what have resources?
And
wait, we forgot in part two one of them died.
That's towards the end.
No. In part two, one of them at the end meets at the her people and tries to fight the Shadow Regions.
Well, yeah, the women of Themyscira were wiped out, but not Wonder Woman herself.
Oh, I completely forgot about that.
When I think that was a parallel Earth of the Amazons that got wiped out.
Yeah, I think so. With her mother, father, and then Aquaman also goes to another
90s Aquaman's world got destroyed
in part two. Yeah.
in part two. Yeah.
There's Hookman, Aquaman. I completely forgot about that part. Oh
And
yeah,
I forgot
Mono in part two.
the time displaced dinosaur scene dragged out way too long.
That's in part three, right?
Wait, was that in part three or was that in part two?
I
That
don't.
might have been in part. That might have been in part three.
Yeah, I don't remember. Oh yeah, that's when the Luger. The Luger showed up in this movie.
Oh, okay. That's why.
That confused me. Like, what? Why would they do that?
It because it sets up the time displaced dinosaur scene
Oh.
in part three, which, like I said, that one kind of drags on too long. That's like a 10-minute sequence in of itself, which you really could have just cut down to 5.
Also, was when no Superman at the Clark Kent in this movie. Okay.
I would
That
love
would
to
be
see
a
DC.
Superman movie. But
I would love to see
that.
DC adapt Blackest Night. Ooh,
I would love to see that too.
like I said, Blackest Night. It cannot be part of any in-connected universe or anything.
No, it cannot.
DC wants to do. It has to be a standalone adaptation. It has to be.
Yeah. Because
That's
you try to another DC movie, it would fail.
I mean, it would only fail if you don't set it up properly.
That too.
Like if you're just doing it for the sake of it. But if you actually build up to it a little bit, maybe with like a Green Lantern project or two, it's doable.
Maybe a little Green Lantern animated movie trilogy. Because you could do the may not do the origin. You get origin too many times. You can do that. Maybe do a Star Wars story similar to Emerald Knights. Then do the Cold War, and then do Blackest Night for the finale.
Yes, because Sinestro Corps War pretty much puts the Green Lanterns to a point where they're allowed to use lethal force, and that puts the events of Blackest Night in motion. Like I said, the most streamlined way to do it is a buddy cop Green Lantern movie, adapt Sinestro Corps War as close as possible for the sequel, and then cap off the trilogy with Blackest Night. That is the most streamlined way to go about it.
Yeah, because you need the other Lantern Corps to be established.
You need Sinestro Corps War to play out to set that up.
Yeah, because it sets up the Red Lantern, sets up the Blue Lanterns, and sets up the
Indigo, Larva.
Indigo Lantern. No. Indigo Lantern will be in Blackest Night. It would actually the Love Lanterns. I forget. It was
Indigo, Life, and Death. Indigo, Life, and Death were revealed in Blackest Night itself.
Yes.
But the main ones in Jeff Johns' runs prior to that point were green for will, yellow for fear, red for rage, orange for greed, and blue for hope, and pink for love with the Star Sapphires.
Yes.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, Blackest Night, you would have to take an entire trilogy to set up at the very least, unless you're going to go the TV route and dedicate multiple seasons to it.
Well, I think that would the anime series. I think that would do the plan because they would stay up a lot of Blackest Night, especially with Scar.
They just end up using a rogue Ava, or the rogue or the AI going rogue, and mixed with the Anti-Monitor.
Yes, but also the Guardian Scar would actually be in this show.
Yeah, Scar played a role in Green Lantern the animated series during the last arc, but it wasn't a direct Blackest Night adaptation. It was just a reference.
Yeah, it would set up two Blackest Night season 2.
But
if they got season 2,
yeah, if it ever got a season 2, it definitely would have set up Blackest Night.
I would love that. It would have been so cool.
But maybe a Young Justice Green Lantern animated series special if it ever got a direct.
I'll be all for that. If Netflix actually does get WB.
You would have to change the art style, but a direct crossover would have been fantastic.
Especially Laser. That'd be awesome.
But
Laser. He's in this movie.
But briefly. But back to this. Where were we with part 2?
I think we're on dinosaur stuff.
Okay, we're on the dinosaur scene with part 3. Okay, like I said, Yeah, because you get Lois Lane talking a bunch of crap. She ends up getting saved, and that's kind of like a cheeky gag. Even Jared got a laugh out of.
Yeah.
But I would love to see Green Lantern the animated series return as well as
What
Thundercats.
Thundercat 2011 return?
Thundercats 2011 just had a bad syndication slot.
It was a bad time, unfortunately, with that show.
Yeah, it was a bad slot. That show barely got the time of day.
It isn't fair. The show
And
was
it's
good.
and it was at the very end of like the Saturday morning cartoon trend because a lot of that was based on like toy sales and merchandise model, which streaming kind of technically killed or at the very least phased it out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Also, didn't help that thing to that ruin that show we watched at the young Jet, the toy sale, that makes no sense because toy sale don't mean any other toy, actually, toy even existed.
And like I said, I would as much I wouldn't mind it coming back if it ever got a proper revival, but I kind of said the same thing about X Men '97, X Men the animated series with an X Men '97. Look how that turned out.
It's gonna be
It's
good.
it's pretty good. Don't get me wrong. It's just there were certain aspects I wouldn't have liked. Like, did I want to see another Logan versus Wolverine Cyclops dogfight over Jean Grey for the millionth time? No, but I didn't want Silver Fox Magneto. God no.
Silver Fox Magneto. Oh, you mean Rogue Magneto?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're welcome. Now that's going to be stuck in your head the rest of the night.
Oh, dang it.
But it is likely going to have impact in season 2 with both Gambit's death and him becoming one of Apocalypse's horsemen.
Yeah, but that's gonna be awesome. I'm excited with that.
So the payoff will probably be worth it. I'm just not a fan of that. I'm just not a fan of that whole love triangle thing. But I'm sure the payoff will be worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But Kingdom Come, Justice League Doomsday Clock. Doomsday Clock
You need Reaper if you want to make that work.
That and you would have to be back in good standing with Alex Ross.
Alex Ross. You mean Alan Moore?
Alan Moore, thank you. You need to be Alan Moore willing to
That's never gonna happen.
Yeah, because they had a major falling out a few years back.
Yeah.
But
I think Kingdom Come. I might thought it was
Kingdom Come is doable. Kingdom Come is doable, but you would have to getting that art style down is almost impossible because that's
never gonna happen. On what do you do motion combat IT? Similar to Red Sun.
The animation is going to be the art is going to be a downgrade, but it's doable.
Yeah. That's impossible.
But like I said, but that's a topic for a different show. We're really getting out of topic. Part 3. Okay, basically it's one big
dinosaur got defeated. They go back to the portal, which is weird. At that antimatter wave, not a time portal. I don't get it.
It's in the comic, but at least the comic only kept it to a couple of pages, and technically that's
minutes.
Yeah, and they dragged that out to like 10 minutes, whereas you probably could have cut it down to 5 for time if you structured this better.
Agreed.
But yeah, it's like you're saying, you're jumping from one world to the next. The villains end up torturing Psycho Pirate, and then
I think Captain Psycho Pirate. They never could answer that question.
No, he kind of after the Monder's taken out, I guess the Anti-Monder kind of dumps him off. But now that he's done with him, with both Barry and the Monder dead. Like I said, in the source material, Psycho Pirate is completely forgotten about, save for his mad ramblings in Arkham Asylum in the epilogue. Outside of that, he's completely forgotten about. So basically you can just chalk that up to like Anti-Monder's done with him now, and he just ditched him on a random Earth, and the villains ended up finding him.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But Psycho Pirate ends up getting tortured by Lex Luthor and other multiverse villains, and then Martian Manhunter comes in clutch with Lobo and War in tow. And like I said, the entire third act is just
kind of skipping a lot of stuff because we kind of skipped Supergirl that they stuff because Supergirl, I think we heard that she messed up. She talked to Superman about the situation, to both Supermen, I think.
Then they have a big plan to take out the Monitor by using solar cells and supercharging across 52 Earths and one direct hit. Saying that
actually we see some cameo of some Earths. one cameo in the 1960s Super Friends cartoon.
Yeah, yeah.
With
So you got this
like fun
major,
up.
this entire cameo fest, and this with multiple Earths getting erased one by one, including a variant of the Justice League animation cartoon. And whether this is voiceover or AI, we don't know for certain. More than likely, this was voiceover.
It was by Kevin Conroy.
Thank you. His final performance, and God, just hearing Kevin Conroy one last time almost makes this movie worth it.
Yeah, that might be my favorite part in time movie to get in my opinion. It's the one part I like the movie having respected after coming on Batman way better. Then shoot the trajectory. You know what? I need to show an image. Like I'm just gonna show it now.
Just no clips because I don't want
It's
to
not
resist.
fair. Don't worry, it's fine.
DC, Warner Brothers, and DC are very fickle when it comes to copyright. Man, I'm serious.
Yeah, I know. Here it is. Like this was the best part in the entire movie. Like I kill Joker. About Gotham, and this is about the end. I get that through my bed, being Batman. Like that is a great line, and a great send off. This send off did it better than Shooter to a degree. F Green. This did it better.
Now, I don't know if Mark Hamill actually came back to do the voiceover, or if it was someone doing a Mark Hamill impression. I want to say, yeah, that was what I was alluding to earlier. I had them mixed up briefly, but yeah, then you get the Aya cameo right there.
Oh yeah, I showed up. So John Stewart because apparently I think through Wendy Cogan established John Stewart not the best Wendy ever. Great, you pretty sure how John's going to see again. Why?
I want to say Hamill. I want to say Mark Hamill did the voiceover for that send off scene
for Joker.
But there was a brief controversy saying that could have been repurposed voice clips or an extra doing an impression of Mark Hamill. But I don't think it was ever proven.
We don't know that. Yeah.
But yeah.
After the Jon Stewart grading, look, I love Jon Stewart, my favorite ever, but I don't like how Jordan getting put down again. Oh yeah. Speaking of how Jordan, I forgot he was in part 1.
Yes, that was during the 45-minute expedition scene where they kind of just had made Hal a jerk who kind of ditched the Justice League to focus more on Oa and in space.
Yeah, I like that. Like, what? Come on. Give her doing something. They're making him a jerk and leave. Idiots. I hear that. Oh, they're me mad. Oh, yeah, Firestorm, some other characters move, but they do nothing.
A lot of extras are just glorified cameos, and they just either die or outright get erased.
Yeah, they do nothing.
Then they make.
We'll get to that later. I need to talk about that.
Yeah. Then they make this big play to supercharge the Kryptonians in a mad dash to take out Andy Monitor in one blow. Yep. But Lois quickly makes the connection that if Superman does supercharge his cells to do his feat, he'll likely die in the process.
And not super knew about it. They just playing like, Ruben, you sort it out. You make the Andy Monitor sort it out. And you're going to be saying, of course I did. Wait, huh? First off, what? Second off, huh?
Because during those few week time skip, they were taking refugees from other Earths. Between food, resources, they could wait the Monitor out in the bleed, but they would starve to death.
But
killed Andy Monitor. So yeah, Luthor cut a deal and try to scavenge as many resources as possible.
I don't get that. How the heck do you make a deal with Andy Monitor? I don't get it. Oh, it's sacrifice. I told him. My bad.
Yeah, because but yeah, then they make this huge play, but then last minute Kara ends up doing it for Clark because she doesn't want her cousin to die.
And because the leadership is very dead, so screw it. I'm gonna sack myself and destroy the Andy Monitor because we're gonna have super good death.
Which, like I said, between the budget cuts and everything going on with the Discovery acquisition at the time, they were making the best out of a bad situation. So I'm not going to fault them, at least in that regard.
Agreed. But I think people go depth in this movie compared to the comic.
It's still a downgrade, but it was received way better than Barry's was.
I agree. Like I'll give this movie a super good job. We did have her death better in this movie. Granted, I like the comic version better. He read the comics, he went on with a badass. I have the image right here.
Ooh.
It's very, very small for it because it's so
Yeah,
better.
I could still make it out though. You're good.
Yeah. But this death was fought bad. We see around our back. He punched the Antimon so hard. The boy like I'm gonna punch until you're dead. The Antimon said, "Oh, my dead body." Bam, and she kills it. Yeah. But we see one of it bad at the end. There, I'm really happy. Now after the movie death, I think the death was fine. It was a good death. Not my favorite death in the world, but hey, it was better than a Billy Allen death. So I'll take what I get.
But and then you get everything with Constantine's backstory, everything we talked
Twist.
about. Hmm?
We did have that plot twist. Dr. Fate explained that, well, the unit was not built for the motivator. It was built actually for one of but if the motivator is expanding, well,
Basically, dark side's a fixed point to preserve the cosmic balance. So killing him outright would just cause a doomed multiverse that would collapse. That would eventually collapse in on itself.
yeah, and that's what we're gonna do with Constantine the plot twist with Antimon not being a bad guy. No, but Antimon is the antibody. I'm sorry, what? That makes no sense.
They were trying to allude to the monitor being a force of nature, but it just
Antimonitor is the antibody that destroyed her, and they start off with nothing. The antimonitor is more antimonitor up. I'm sorry, what? That makes no sense. Well, how do more antimonitors? That's just dumb. That we should antimonitor. I say the fight more antimonitors. Well, just
pretty sure Countdown and 52 established that.
but 52 decided more monitor, not anti. There was one antimonitor, not more monitors.
I'm just saying that's how they explained it.
Yeah, true. And countdown is more monitors, but and the anti-monitor was just one anti-monitor.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah, but
But
it was just so dumb. It was my head. Dark Side reveal. I have so many questions about that because how could Billy Allen go back in time to kill Dark Side as a baby? Wait a second. How does he know to do that? And then find out if we're in space.
basically, it's a reference to that throwaway line in Avengers Endgame where they suggested the idea,
Yeah.
and it's more of a reference to that. But but uh, but yeah. After all that, it's just one major battle to where they have no choice but to use the Miracle Machine as a Deus Ex Machina to basically combine the surviving Earths together and create new Earth and a clean slate for everybody.
But I found the image of Dark Side baby.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll still talk while I pull this up. Constantine originally tries to sacrifice himself, but the Miracle Machine doesn't deem him worthy enough. So then Earth 2 Wonder Woman ends up sacrificing herself.
Here it is.
Okay.
Yeah, that Dark Side.
And if it sounds like we're skimming around a lot, I mean, again, there's not really. Part 3 is just one big battle outside of this one exposition scene, and we broke that up. And we kind of gave you the cliff notes on an earlier point. But like I said, part 1 and part 3 are pretty straightforward. It's part 2 that's going to give you most issues because part 2 is really dragged out.
It is. Like, I think Dark Side Baby had been in this movie. I get the idea of it, but it just makes no sense. The more I feel like, what? Like, Dark Side is a new guy. You can't kill a new guy with magic.
Well, technically, he doesn't get the Omega Sanction until later in life. He didn't.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It's bequeathed to him.
That's true. That makes sense. My bad.
So if you unalive him as a baby, it would have been before he received the Omega Sanction. Therefore, it wouldn't have. But someone ascending the throne of Apocalypse with the pantheon of the new gods, you kind of need that. You kind of need that role in order to preserve the balance.
And you need actually like Orion and
Do you guys think outside the DCU will be the last? This will be the last batch of standalone animated movies we'll be getting for a long time, depending if Warner Brothers does it over time. Potentially, but at the same time, I could see at least one Elseworld movie being sprinkled out a year.
Because last episode when we got Batman Aztec, it was bad. Not
Yeah,
really.
you're still gonna get Elseworld movies sprinkled here and there because you have to find a way to keep the animation budget in place somehow. You
Yeah.
can't just put all your eggs in one basket with the DCU. So
Or just Tomorrowverse.
you're not gonna get any. You're not gonna get an interconnected universe like the Dcamu and the Arrowverse were, but you're still gonna get Elseworld projects here and there,
Whereas that's in this year, we're getting Nightfall trilogy.
which might get
It's gonna be Robin.
canonized into the DCU after the fact, or it'll remain standalone. We'll have to remain and see.
Yeah. My bet there it will be standalone. It will not be cut to James Gunn universe, which I'm fine with that. Because that would fine in the movie favor. We can get added of that story. Also, good news. Tim Robin is the Robin in that movie. Thank God.
Why wouldn't it? Tim Drake was the Robin in Nightfall.
He is. And they're good at that point in the movie. Not to Damon Wayne. Yay.
Okay, you kind of lost me there, Tavia.
It was confirmed today that Tim Robin is going to be the Robin in the Nightfall movie.
Okay, thank you. But what was I saying? Okay,
You were talking about after with Dark Side.
Right. So basically, as a result of that, this the Tomorrowverse is kind of in flux. It's expanding bigger than what it was supposed to be, and at the end, if it doesn't outright collapse in on itself and destroy all reality, the anti-monitors are pretty much purging all these extra Earths as a mercy.
Yeah,
I thought so. That's what I meant, but made a mistake. So Tomorrowverse is basically the
last connected universe.
Pretty much,
yeah.
Pretty much. Which, let's be honest, the only reason they even did that in the animation side because they knew the DCEU wasn't going to work the way they wanted. So at least with that in the Arrowverse, you had something.
Yeah, they have a backup plan because the DCEU was collapsing. Well, we have the other universe connected with Arrowverse and Animal. Let's keep this going for a little while before we have to reboot and start from scratch and just start over again because reasons.
They probably originally intended for the Tomorrowverse to last a little longer, but then the Discovery merger happened, and then you got then you got James Gunn coming into play, and like, okay, we're just going to scrub this after these are just going to be a series of transition movies. Then we're going to wrap it up with a Crisis on Infinite Earth adaptation because Hamada wanted to set that up for years now, and we'll just wrap everything. We'll just use Crisis to wrap everything up. Better than using Flashpoint again, so I'll give them that.
I'll give them credit. Yeah, you're right about that. We did a new Flashpoint. But Flashpoint's been done too many damn times. I'm so done with that Flashpoint. I can't do anymore.
I mean, the best outside the source material, the best version is Flashpoint 2013. Granted, there are changes in 2013. The only difference is in the opening sequence, it's implied that Thawne is the one who goads Barry into changing the timeline in the first place. But in the comic, you actually see Barry make that connection, get so pissed off, and ends up changing the timeline anyway. You actually get to see the build-up prior to Barry making the change.
Yeah. We're him at the waiting about every other we're going to New 52 and Pandora, so I don't know and whatever.
But yeah, it's a whole thing. But for what it is, Flashpoint 2013 is a pretty solid adaptation for the most part.
It's a better Flash movie than the other Flash movie.
Yeah, but it's not a direct one-to-one, especially when you count the tie-ins. But as far as the main comic is concerned, it's a pretty standard adaptation. The live-action Flash, I mean, they were just going to use Flash to reboot anyway, so it really didn't matter. But the very fact that they didn't use Reverse Flash in that movie is arguably its biggest sin, but that's a separate conversation.
Agreed.
But yeah, back to Crisis. Then basically, then you get the portal. With the exception of
the machine because that's the Final Crisis idea.
Yeah, and then
it remembers about what Miracle Machine about Legion of Superheroes.
Yes, it was referenced in Legion of Superheroes. It wasn't physically shown, at least from what I remember.
I completely forgot about that. Yeah, because that's all Final Crisis stuff. It's not Crisis stuff. That part confused me. Like, why would you bring Final Crisis stuff in Crisis? So you got not Final Crisis. Because
they weren't going to use the Pocket Universe ending, and they need a separate MacGuffin to merge all the surviving Earths together. Well, if you're not going to merge all the surviving Earths together, we're just going to branch off a new reality and just wipe the slate clean.
Clean.
Whereas in the original comic, 5 surviving Earths and their realities end up getting merged together.
Yeah, but
So
this,
it's a slightly different ending.
yeah, this ending would bug me because what? This makes no sense. It is just too confusing in my brain. It was so dumb. Yeah, because one of them sacrificed himself because, well, the humans go down anyway. Constantine wanted to do it, but he can't do it. I get why. He should really do it.
He wasn't worthy.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
Wasn't a worthy trip.
It's not for him.
Wasn't a worthy tribute.
Yeah, I don't get that.
Because Constantine has sold his soul and has made dirty dealings with just about everything and everyone in the cosmos.
Oh.
So even if Constantine did willingly offer a piece of itself in exchange for the wish to be granted, what would the miracle machine or the wider universe even take? Constantine is split across so many demons, so many realms. Anytime he's made a deal to get out of Dodge, that's not a worthy transaction. Constantine is pretty much the cosmic equivalent of damaged goods. It's not a worthy transaction. It's not.
True.
Like from a comic standpoint, it's not. It's really a bad deal.
True.
But yeah, Wonder Woman ended up being a better offer. And then everyone goes into the portal where everyone's merged together in their clean slate, with the exception of Constantine, who kind of accepts his fate. And
Spectre actually leaves with them.
Spectre and the Question. The Question was going to reject the new reality out of principle because he's a conspiracy nut. John Constantine feels like he needs to atone, at least in some capacity, for what he did, even if it meant death and even if it meant oblivion and death. And the Spectre is kind of just watching everything play out.
I didn't realize Spectre does jump and shit in animated movies.
Because he can't. He has to preserve the balance above all else. He is literally God's wrath.
True. So that's just no weak potential. But Spectre should have fought the Anti-Monitor. I wanted that fight, like in the comic, but we didn't get that.
Yeah, in the comic it was like a mild skirmish, but again, that's because everything was going to hell in a handbasket in the comic. True. In the movie, they're gonna make in the movie trilogy, they were trying to make it as streamlined as possible.
Dang, like that.
Which you really can't, because Crisis, yeah, it played a larger impact in the industry, but in context, Crisis is a convoluted mess of a story.
True.
If you were not reading any of the Silver Age books leading up to it, or Silver/Bronze Age, it is a convoluted mess.
True. But if you look at it in the story as a whole, it's a good story. Yeah, it's a mess, but it's a mess that...
The overall story is good, but the structure's a mess.
True. Structure's a mess if you read the tie-ins.
Unless you read the tie-ins, yes.
Yeah. The tie-ins are confusing, but read the tie-ins, they kind of make sense. Confusing.
And because a lot of these books were going to end at post-Crisis anyway, it's kind of their last hurrah. A lot of these tie-in issues, it's kind of their last.
Death metal with definitely DC Universe, but that tie-in.
Yeah, but yeah, that whole thing, and yeah, that's the Crisis trilogy. As for part 3, okay, I gave part 1 a 7, a part 5.
Wait, we never talked the ending.
We did. That was the portal. Everyone goes in.
Well, yeah, actually, one more clip. One on.
Okay, and then we get a young Diana on Themyscira getting lectured by her mom as she is back on Paradise Island and wanders into the horizon.
Yeah, because and Superman talking to Dwayne one more time.
I don't know if that was a DCU tease or Diana living a personal heaven. It's not.
I don't get it. It's never explained.
It's never explained for certain. They might repurpose it. If this carries over into the DCU proper.
It's not how that's going to happen.
But if not, just assume it's Diana's personal heaven and reward for all the good she's done.
And for her sacrifice the same entire universe, kind of. So, well, new reality, technically speaking.
New reality. But, yeah. But, yeah, that's Crisis Part 3. So if I gave part 1 a 7, part 2 a 4, and I'm going to give part 3 a 7 as well, so that's 17 divided by 3. So that's a bit over 5 overall. That's about a 5.5 overall. A 5.5 out of 10 overall.
Yeah. Okay. My score.
Go ahead.
Yeah. What did I give part 1 again?
You gave part 1 a 2.5. You gave part 1 a 3. You
Okay.
gave part 1 a 3 out of 5, which would be a 6 out of 10.
So,
Then you gave part 2 a 2.5, which would be a 5 out of 10.
so
And
6.5.
then you haven't given part 3 a score yet.
Yeah. Part 3, I'm giving 1 out of 5. It was disappointing finale. I didn't like the ending. It just made me blood boil.
So
So
that's a 2 out of 10. So that's 13 divided by 3. So
13.
overall, you give it about a 4.5 out of 10.
Yeah, 4.3, I think, or 4.
Yeah, 4.3 repeating. Okay.
Yeah, that's
4.33
better.
repeating. I got you. I see it. But yeah, like
Yeah,
I said,
well,
especially if you, it's a downgrade compared to the source material, and Arrowverse's crossover was at least structured better. Arrowverse's adaptation was at least structured better with limited characters. But again, as for, it's not bad. It's just egregiously mid.
it's disappointing and a waste of my time. I was excited for the Endo Treaty. When I first heard about this in 2020, I was excited and very excited. What I got? A disappointment that made no sense and a pretty waste of my time. I was so disappointed that my worst rate of that year.
As it is, it was a series of transition projects to keep the developers employed during the transition.
Yeah.
But
And,
so I'm not gonna fault.
You too.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And we got decent content. Like I said, it was decent. It wasn't going to have time to be fully fleshed out. It was kind of like it was going to be built up like it's really like 7 films in its entirety. So it wasn't too long. It's like 7 films over the course of a 3-year arc. 3 year, like right at 3 years, because they took a gap year in 2021, and then Man of Tomorrow started in
2022, I think.
Yeah, Batman Long Halloween Part 1 was in the beginning of 2022, with Part 2 releasing later in the no. Part 1 was in late 2022, and Part 2 released early 2023.
Yeah, Judge Scotty came out after Man Tomorrow.
Yep. So that was around 2022, like earlier in the year. And then you got the showcase short sprinkled in amidst those movies.
Yeah.
Then you got Green Lantern Beware My Power in 2023. Well, really, you got Green Lantern Beware My Power in 2023.
You got Catwoman Hunted, Beware My Power, and my favorite movie of that year about Super Sense.
Yes, and all in that 1 year.
Yep.
But then you had early 2024 Supergirl Legion of Superheroes, and then Crisis Part 1 later in the year.
No. After we got World War.
Oh, we got World War. Okay, thank you. World War later in the year. And then beginning of 2024, you had Crisis Part 1, late 2024, Crisis Part 2.
And near the end of 2024, we got Part 3.
And then
Watchmen came out and seen that as well.
Yeah, Watchmen as an Elseworld project.
Yeah.
But and then right in the beginning of 2025, I think it was that January. I think it was around exactly this time last year, Part 3 came out.
Yeah. And then we got Watchmen Part 2.
Yeah.
When did Watchmen Part 2 come out? I need to look this up.
But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Part 2 2024. Watchmen 2024.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
But yeah, like I said, I'm surprised this one took. I thought this was going to take every bit an hour, but we got.
Yeah, it's been 2 hours.
Yeah, we got sidelined a couple times. But yeah, this actually this was a great collab. I appreciate you recommending fan requesting this one for me, Tevia.
Anytime.
And it's probably too late to do a Q&A this late, because I know at least in the Eastern Coast it's past midnight.
Yeah, it's midnight, 12:11.
Yeah, it's probably too late for a Q&A at this point. But yeah, before we wrap up, any final thoughts, Tevia, on your end?
Bye-bye, Tomorrowverse. The Tomorrowverse just found weight potential. It had total potential, but they wasted it. I'm just sad that we get to see Human fly. But, oh well. Hopefully, I think the future of DC animated better. I want them to get back on track again, like they used to do. I don't want more screw-ups. We have to watch the anime movie. That's really my effing time. I want to see the anime movie again. Now, good, not bad. But after the future of the animation, we'll see about that. But after Tomorrowverse, it was a fine experiment. Not the best experiment world, but not the worst. I seen far worse, but due to disappointment. But other than that, That's all up to Tomorrowverse. Yep.
As for me, especially looking back for this video, I appreciate the Tomorrowverse for what it was. Sure, it was, from a business standpoint, it was a series of transition projects, but you could tell people actually dedicated time, heart, and resource for what little they had. And it had highs, it had lows, really more lows towards the end.
Yeah.
But if I had to say one that was that was objectively bad, War World, which really should have just been an extended showcase showing special and call it a day, and Beware My Power. But that's because really Beware My Power was overhyped because that was the first anything involving Green Lantern in over a decade.
Yeah.
And then they just completely dropped the ball. So Beware My Power was going to get a lot of heat regardless. No pun intended.
Agreed.
But yeah, those are the only two I could say that were objectively bad. Anything else was either mid to good, but not great.
Yeah.
Like I said, the closest you'll get to a 10 is The Long Halloween, but that's because it's a solid adaptation, albeit with a few minor changes.
Yep. I agree with that. But I mean, the best movie came out to A Man Tomorrow and Long Halloween. We love how it's awful. I hate that movie. It was insane. What was it? Terrible. It made no sense. We just superheroes. Forgettable. Quite the majority of it infuriating. So
yeah, like I said, individually they're better apart than as a repackaged trilogy altogether because part 2 really drags it down.
Yeah.
Because of how poorly structured it is. But like I said, it's mid. It's like right in the middle.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But before we wrap up, Tevia, anything you would like to promote or what you got coming up on your channel?
After what's coming on my channel, I did my reaction to my Doomsday X-Men teaser. You want to check it out? You can check it out today. As for tomorrow, I think tomorrow. Wait, it's tomorrow. It's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. Then 10 bites. I'm acting over Vision Comics. I don't know what's coming up this week. I'll do some reviews. But that's my come on my channel. I'm also moving back to Florida actually this week. You probably want to move back to Florida. Well, because my family moved back to Florida. My mom got a new job. So I'm gonna move back to Florida. But other than that, advocate for my channel. The movie reviews. I don't know movie review I did like this week. I'll finish anything. But other than that, I mean that's all I got so far for coming on my channel. Yep.
As for me, you could. Oh, thank you so much, Tevia. Let me go ahead and take you out of full screen.
What?
As for me, you can find me at Jheat Blaze or Jheat75. I also do comics, video game playthroughs, just everything and everything across the board. And just like with this video, I also do fan requests. So if you have a particular topic you would want me to cover or react to, please feel free to either message me on social media or in the comment section of my videos, and we'll set up that potential collab or topic idea. Also, I had meant to do this last year, but I never got around to it, my Ironheart review, but I may just go ahead and force myself to rewatch the series. That way you get a fresh pair of eyes review. I mean, it's still bad, but hey, yeah. It was a fan request, and I just wanted to honor it. So, hey, at least it's better than Gotham Knights. So, not by much. It's not by much, mind you, but hey, it is what it is. But yeah, thank y'all so much for watching us, our first stream of the new year. Like and comment, subscribe. Thank y'all so much for watching. Flame off.
Yep. Bye.